It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hi, I'm Courtney Forrest.
I'm Tony Schumacher.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan.
This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
What's up, WFO Radio listeners? Welcome back to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. We are celebrating 10 years in existence as a podcast, and hopefully you are loving the show, subscribe to the show, listening every single week. We've had a couple of great ones, back-to-back-to-back winners editions, but now we're getting ready for the Virginia Nationals, and I know what you're thinking. Who's on the show, Joe? Who's on the show? And I can tell you, we have gone, 5 weeks without Pro Stock? It has been a long time since we have seen Pro Stock. The Denso 4-Wides Vegas, that was the last time we saw the Pro Stockers. So a perfect opportunity to check in with the winningest active Pro Stock racer out there, Greg Anderson, going to be on the show as our featured guest. We're going to ask Greg, what you been doing with the time, Greg? What are they doing? And my opinion is they've been working, right? You give KB Racing the opportunity to have 3 races off. They're not going on vacation. They're not sunning and funning. They're making dyno pulls. They're looking for horsepower. So we're going to ask Greg. Greg, what have you been doing? And I'm excited. Factory Hot Rods back. Pro Stock back. And we will see them when they come around the corner. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You'll hear me say it a couple of times. We can't miss you if you're not gone. And I have missed Pro Stock. Certainly. I've missed Pro Stock. So Greg Anderson going to be on the show. But also on the show, we are going to make right a mistake that we made in the past couple of weeks, which was after our NGK Sparkplugs 4-Wide Nationals Winners Edition show, just getting together all those winners. You may recall it was a 3-hour show. We had every winner on, including Mountain Motor Pro Stock, but we did not connect with Mike Janis. Mike Janis won E3 Sparkplugs Pro Mod. And even though another race has come and gone since then, we're going back. And we're going to connect with Mike Janis. Janis is the champ. Janis is going to be in action this weekend out there in Virginia. So we're going to have Mike on the show to make it right. Mike make right. And it's going to be perfect. And one of the reasons you listen to the show, hopefully, is to hear the winners. There are a lot of different stories out there in drag racing land. And we try to chase the big stories and the little stories and the interesting stories and maybe even some stories that turn out to be not so interesting at some point. But one of the hallmarks of WFO is that winners win their way on the show. And in the Mellow Yellow Series in particular, and as often as possible, the Lucas Oil Series and E3 Sparkplug Series. Factory Stock Showdown, we've got our own podcast called Factory Stock Podcast by WFO Radio. And hopefully you are totally subscribed to that because we got a big one this week, and it's dropping right around the same time that this show is dropping. So you're going to love that. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But Mike Janis going to be on the show. And finally, Pro Stock Motorcycle, Kelly Clontz, going up to her home national event, the Virginia Nationals in Richmond. And so Kelly has not been on the show yet. She is just a great story. A story of a person who was not even a racer, who became a racer and embraced motorcycle racing and was a track champion on her bracket bike and decided with her husband, Chris, to take the plunge into the Mellow Yellow Series and go and do and try and conquer as best as they can, not knowing what lie ahead. That is such a great story. So we're going to have Kelly Clontz on the show. So Kelly, Mike Janis, Greg Anderson, the featured guest, plus Alan Reinhart just minutes away. But now I will tell you who's on Factory Stock Podcast, which you're going to want to hear that as well. And why we don't have every single WFO radio listener subscribe to that as well, I have no idea. But the NHRA Vice President of Competition, Ned Walliser, going to be on the show. Kevin Skinner, Cobra Jet Racer, going to be on the show. Scott Libisher, going to be on the show, in addition to Brian Massengill as we get ready for Richmond for all you Factory Stock fans. Go to Apple Podcasts or your podcast app, type in Factory Stock Podcast, click subscribe. Brian Massengill and I were talking about people who don't know how to work the podcasts yet still. They don't know how to subscribe. Like, where is it? How do I get it? Listen, if there's any one of 1,000 of these podcast apps, go in there, type it in, and you will get opportunities to subscribe. And it'll go right to your mobile device, piece of cake, like WFO. And then when you do that, please write a review. I'm very happy about all the reviews we have for WFO Radio, and we are just working so hard to please you, the listeners of WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. 10 years in now. And the only way we have been able to do it for 10 years is by having some fantastic sponsors like samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. I've already told you about Factory Stock Podcast. Might as well tell you about the school. Go to samtech.edu. Start your education at full speed. Listen, it's for young people, for relatively young people, people who are looking to change their career or get into a career that they love. I will tell you over and over again, yes, we have sponsors. It's not a free podcast just because. It's a free podcast because we have sponsors. And these people are doing something great for the youth of America in that they can get you into the racing industry with an education that will never be taken away from you. What is better than that? Go to samtech.edu. FrankHawley.com. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Frank and Lana Hawley doing great things for drag racing fans in that making it easier to have the experience of driving a dragster, something that so many people want. I remember when I was just a fan in the stands, like wondering what it would be like to go fast and had to go through a lot to get that thrill and understanding that ultimately led to this great career. Well, you can do it a lot easier than I did by going to the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more information. We are also improving your life in many ways on WFO Radio by exposing you to great folks like RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. If you love coffee and you go to various high-end retail coffee store that begins with a star anyway, why are you not getting Rodax gourmet coffee shipped right to your home and making it yourself and enjoying some of the best stuff in the world? Not to mention the hot sauces and the spice rubs and all of that. By now, you should have just been broken down by me telling you over and over again. You need to do it. RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. I'm telling you, we got a lot of our listeners that just swear by it. They live by it. It's fantastic. Marvin, just a great guy. MagicDryUS.com. This is for you shop owners. This is for you factory owners. This is for you industrial types. If you've got a shop, Magic Dry. If you've got a cat, CatSpotLitter.com. They both sponsor WFO Radio and Scott Palmer, and we love them because they support the show and they support drag racing. And a guy like Scott Palmer, who is out there also like living a life's dream, is doing it because the folks at CatSpot are selling CatSpot to you guys, or Magic Dry to you guys. So next time you need something to absorb that spill or clean up a mess in your shop, you should be going to MagicDryUS.com. Seriously. And Hangsta First, metalworking lubricants, on board since last year, loving what they're doing. Zach Sackman getting a win out there in Columbus a week ago. Hangsta First on board, helping Matt Sackman get his license in Top Fuel, on board with DSR, on board with John Force Racing. Hangsta First metalworking lubricants on board with WFO Radio, and we love and appreciate them. Their job is to make your job easier in the metalworking area, like make your tools last longer and cut faster, and they do a great job of it. Thanks to HangstaFirst.com and Hangsta First Metalworking Lubricants. And HusseyPerformance.net. The Hussey guys are back, and we are thrilled. Hussey Copper, Copperhead Gaskets. Some of our listeners, engine builders in various arenas, you need Copperhead Gaskets. You're using Copperhead Gaskets. What I would ask is for you to give Hussey Copper a try. They clearly work on the Bartone Brothers alcohol funny car that Sean Bellemere ran to a perfect claim last year and is looking really good here in 2019. But they are the best in the business. They inspect every gasket. They can make custom gaskets and get them to you at the track. You got to give them a call, HusseyPerformance.net, and give them a try. If you like WFO Radio, why wouldn't you, right? And audible.com/WFO Nitro. Start your 30-day free trial. Audiobooks, audible.com, all kinds of great benefits. And if you don't like something, you can always exchange it. But audible.com/WFO Nitro. Not to mention Drag Racing Edge Magazine. There's a new copy of Drag Racing Edge Magazine out there. You want to get subscribed. And EV3 Drag Racing and BigFishTools.com. And a lot of people supporting WFO Radio through like cross-promotional agreements. It's fantastic. I know you love all this stuff, right? You love the big advertisement chain at the start of the show. No, you don't, but you understand it's part of WFO existence. All right, Greg Anderson, Kelly Clontz, Mike Janis, all coming up, but let's get started. Joining us now, he'll be calling the action out there at Virginia, the Virginia Nationals. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, is back. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe, great to be back. You know, I've determined, I just wrote this on Twitter a little bit ago, I've determined that 1 week off is too many.
In this case, I don't agree because I used my time wisely well, not really. I mean, I was around last weekend. I could have been racing. But bottom line is we're going racing this weekend, Alan, so here we go. Don't talk about the past.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Give us good weather because, you know, everybody raves about the surface at Virginia Motorsports Park. So if we've just got decent weather, it should be fun. And, you know I can introduce you to about 50 people that are chomping at the bit to get pro stock back on the racetrack. And that's all the drivers, crew chiefs, and everybody that's going to be headed to Virginia with their trucks, even though most of them don't have a long trip.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you mentioned that. Greg Anderson, our featured guest here on the show, and I thought it's only fitting that these guys have taken a certain amount of time off. I want to check in with GA and and see what they did with the time, because my spidey senses tell me that KB Racing used every second of this time off to get better. And I'm interested to juxtapose that with, like Elite, for instance. They've been at the track running their pro mod, doing their thing. I'm not saying that that means everything else stops, but two very different ways of how to handle this. I guess what it's been 5 weeks away from the track.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. One thing that I found when I was living in that world a few years ago is that if there wasn't a race on the calendar, you'd never be ready to go racing, because there's always something else you want to do when you're in the shop. It's like, hey, let's just make this little tweak on that motor, or hey, let's try these carburetors on that motor, or in this case now it'd be, changing induction systems, changing manifolds, changing whatever. But there's always something else that you want to try. But when it's like, nope, we got to load the trucks up and go, then you just push the pause button, load the trucks up and go. And then when you come back, you pick right back up with the list and go on. But if there wasn't a race on the calendar, you would never be ready to go racing, because you're always refining and always tweaking and always tuning. So I'm sure that's what the KB boys were doing. It'll be interesting to see how much they found.
Well, exactly. And that's where my head is at. And as much as is this a good thing for car count in pro stock? Yes, clearly it has been a good thing for car count in pro stock. What will giving the cutting edge, well-funded teams who develop their own power an additional 5 weeks after the start of the season to go find more, how will that affect the power balance? That's what I'm interested in seeing.
Well, see, I think you can look at that a couple of different ways. I mean, you look at, Nick Ferry and the guys that he's been working with, and he knows he's got ground to make up. He knows he's not where he needs to be, but he also has many more things that he can, he's got more gains to be made. And sometimes those things just take time. He knows that, okay, we've got to refine whatever it is, whether it's refining the cylinder heads, whether it's refining the cylinder finish, whether it's, hey, we've got to update to the latest ring package that everybody's been running except us. But he has more ground to make. So I think that would be probably an even bigger advantage for somebody like him, because he's not looking for little tweaks and tunes. He's looking for slightly bigger chunks, and they're certainly out there.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what makes it interesting, the fact that pro stock has been gone. And, we can't miss them if they're never gone. And that, I think, is, at least for me, the takeaway from these last 3 races. Every time we had a Mellow Yellow Series session, and I know not everybody agrees with this, right? Not everybody's a fan of pro stock the way that I'm a fan of pro stock. And I know there are people who are more technically knowledgeable than I am as well, maybe deeper fans of pro stock who don't even care about the nitro categories, which I do care about. But even with Mountain Motor Pro Stock, even with Pro Modified Series, we've had all kinds of great stuff. It has been great. I have missed the Pro Stock cars. To me, they are their own unique thing that is different than everything else. So I'll be very interested to see, when they roll around the corner for the first time, how it is received.
I'm actually genuinely curious, because you do the pit walking tours and you do a lot of stuff, spend a lot of time with the very casual fan out in the pits. I knew that over the course of the last few races that there'd be a few people that come up and go, hey, what happened to pro stock? But I was really surprised at the number of people that came up and went, "Hey, where are the pro stockers fitted?" Or "How come we're not seeing pro stock?" Or, like I said, I knew there would be some question there, because a number of the casual fans, if you don't follow NHRA.com or you don't keep up online, you just know that, okay, hey, the Drags are in town this weekend, let's go check them out. They never got the memo. And I was really surprised at how many people came up going, "Hey, where are they? Why aren't they here?" We kind of miss seeing them. I wonder if you had the same experience.
I did. I have. And I had a couple of, customer service moments where the person was not just asking, they were angry. And they were coming at me about it. And I was like, "Hey, here's the thing. The best I can offer you is that you need to, et cetera, and so on." But it'll be interesting to see. Was it hundreds? No, it wasn't hundreds. Was it tens of people that pulled me aside and said, "Hey, where's Pro Stock?" And the answer is absolutely. Where's Pro Stock? And I said, did you read NHRA.com during the offseason? And that was probably my biggest takeaway, which this is great. It's an opportunity, not a problem, that there are many, many of our fans who come to the races, who sit in the seats in the grandstands, who walk the pits, who do not go to NHRA.com, who do not listen to WFO radio, who do not follow on Facebook and Twitter. They just go to the races, and the race comes, and they're like, "I'm going to the race." And they don't follow all the side, ancillary, informative channels. And when I ask, like, "Hey, did you?" "No, I don't go to all that. I just come to the race." So maybe we need to do a little bit better of a job of getting those people on board.
Well, see, and I understand that perfectly, because when it comes to casual fandom, the rodeo is really big in my part of the world. In Tucson, and this goes all the way back to when I was in grade school, which, I know when we used to Fred Flintstone our way there with our stone wheels.
Of course.
But when the rodeo weekend came to town, school was closed Thursday and Friday. We were out of school for 2 days. And when the rodeo week came to town, everybody was wearing jeans and Western wear and cowboy. I mean, everybody. Whether it was at the pharmacy, whether it was at the supermarket, whether it was at a gas station. But when the rodeo came to town, it was a huge thing, and still is. The Tucson Rodeo is part of what they call the turquoise circuit of the Pro Rodeo Series, which is down in the southwestern part of the world. I couldn't name 3 guys that have won anything, but when the rodeo came to Tucson, I went to watch the rodeo. I just, went to watch. It was the circus was in town, so to speak. And, the announcer would be talking about, "Hey, this guy won last week," or "This guy's, leading the series for this year," or, "Hey, this guy's been bucked off of his last 6 bulls." And I didn't care about any of that. I just cared that, hey, the rodeo's in town, and I came to watch the rodeo because it's in town. So I understand that completely. Would it be nice to be able to get the word out a little bit more? Yeah. But, those casual fans are a huge part of the sport. There are always going to be those fans that just come because the circus is in town, so to speak. And, they want to come out and, maybe they know some of the stars of the sport. Maybe they want to get their autograph from Brittany or from Leah or from Antron or from, whoever. And that's great. But once the rodeo leaves town, they go back to their regular old lives and do whatever they do until the next time when it rolls back around. Or, that other than Tucson, I couldn't tell you one stop on the tour for the Turquoise Rodeo. But I know when they come into Tucson, it's a big deal.
Wow. No, very cool, very cool. Well, I know, that Ty Murray and Chuck Shepard and, Joe Beaver, et cetera, they're in town. I'm sure they bring out all the rodeo fans.
But let me ask you this. How closely do you follow them? I mean, if you're talking about guys that are on the Professional Bull Riders Tour, that's not the same guys that I'm talking about. But if the PBA is coming to, is that right, Pro Bull Rider Association? If they're coming to town, would you go see them? And would you know before they got to town, who won the last 3 meets or where they were last week or where they're going next week?
Well, absolutely not, because I had to go to Google in the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame just to bring up those last names I gave you a second ago. I'm surprised you did not detect that, but no, of course not. And it's an opportunity for us. We got to realize that there are a lot of people. They hear the ads, they want to see the fast cars, they want to come out and walk the pits and see all that craziness, but they may not know what the heck is going on. And that's why we started these walking tours, and that's why you have Nitro School, and there are all these extra things to try to educate those folks. Something we just got to keep in mind at every second.
Absolutely.
There it is. All right, so we're both happy, in case you guys did not realize. We are both happy that Pro Stock is back. Just for those of you who are following along, Bo Butner leading the points over Alex Laughlin by 140, and then it's very tight all the way back to 10th, where Chris McGahey is 236 back. So Bo has kind of got a runaway going. Very interested to see what goes on this weekend. Now, kind of interesting in that two of our top three Mellow Yellow Series defending race winners, Tanner Gray and Courtney Force, will not be there. Steve Torrance will be there. He's coming in hot. Ellie Tonglet also may not be there. So kind of changing of the guard, or just a change in the Mellow Yellow Series. Tanner Gray, who, by the way, got his first win 2 weeks ago, which I had talked to him about coming on the show, and he has a test this week, so it is unfortunate, but he is coming on. We're going to talk with Tanner about his winning on the roundy round circuit, so to speak. Kind of interesting. Steve Torrance, Courtney Force, Tanner Gray, Ellie Tonglet won this race last year. Steve Torrance, the only one who is back.
And Steve Torrance, as you said, coming in hot. His dad's going to be there as well, so that's another car that everybody's going to have to deal with. But I'll tell you, the guy who I'm going to be looking out for this week is Terry McMillan, because I really think he's got a chip on his shoulder after the D&Q down in Atlanta, and rain shortened qualifying, so didn't get the fourth opportunity, which may or may not have gotten him into the field, but he certainly had the same three that everybody else did. But I really think that team's coming in feeling like they got something to prove right now, and I think they're going to be aggressive. I think this is going to be a good weekend for Terry McMillan. Let's just put it that way.
No, I agree. And I had spoken with Rob Wendland that weekend, and he said he was, he had some things he was trying, and then rain came, and then they were out of the field. You learn from every experience, of course, but to me, I hope they don't take that one too personally, because I think it was more weather related than anything else.
Well, it was, but and Rob's been around this game long enough that, he knows if you're going to experiment, that's all well and good, but, come out Friday, put your run down, get yourself in the field, and then go experiment. For whatever reason, Friday was kind of weird conditions, and there were a lot of good cars that didn't get down the racetrack. So when Saturday came, and Saturday morning, everybody was doing their, okay, here's my safety run to make sure that I'm locked into the field, and their car didn't make it. And I have no idea why. I didn't talk to Rob afterwards, but it got way down the racetrack, past where you normally think is going to be the trouble zone, before it knocked the tires off, and then they just couldn't recover. So I don't know what exactly happened on that run, but as I said, I think those guys are going to come in with a little bit of chip on their shoulder, and I think that's going to be a team to watch. Very
interesting. We got 18 entries in Top Fuel, and Mike Salinas is back. He was off doing taking care of business literally for Mike Salinas. But also we have got you mentioned Billy Torrance, but Dan Mercier, who is kind of going to be like, I don't want to say a team car with Terry McMillan, but certainly some cross pollination there. Ike Meyer, and others out there. Cameron Foray going to be back out there. So there is some new, fresh blood roaming around out there in Top Fuel. So we're going to have a couple of cars that don't make the field.
You're right. I'll tell you something else that I'm going to be watching for. I think, Audrey Worm's team made a pretty big performance stride in Atlanta. They weren't a threat to win the race. They didn't pick up a round win, but they came out and they qualified at 4 flat over 290, which was career best for her. And then they came back and did that again, and in round one. And I think that, they look like, and they don't have a big budget. They don't have a lot of parts. They've got to be very careful with what they do, but they look like they've been making progress. It would not at all surprise me to see that car go out there and run, 397, 398, maybe go 300 miles an hour, which would put that team on its ear. I mean, considering, again, what they're working for as far as, with parts and with a budget and what they've got. But if they do that, then I think you pencil them into the field, and all of a sudden it's going to be a little bit more difficult for one of the others. So, as I said, I think they had an impressive showing last week with career best numbers and put down a respectable run in the first round. And I think that's another team that is definitely trending in the right direction, as you say.
Absolutely. And let's not forget, it was a couple of years ago, but that team was the victim of crime. They had bought a brand new supercharger, and they had advanced their program, and then somebody kind of broke in and took their stuff. The specifics of the story escape me, but I remember that they were victimized, and it was very unfortunate. So I'm sure that was a setback to their whole operation.
No doubt about it. When they're chasing a dream, and they're trying to do it without putting themselves out of business. And as I said, I think that, you need to give credit when they do come out, make clean runs, make progress. And I think that's all you can ask. Not everybody has got the budget that Mike Salinas has. And, decides, okay, I want to go fuel race, and let's go buy 5 of the best of everything, and let's go do this. But there's a lot of people that are chasing that same dream that are going, okay, look, I think we can do this as long as we're really smart. We don't go out there and try to set the world record every run, and make sure we don't blow up our stuff, and let's just be careful and let's learn as we go. They've certainly, I think, had some input from some of the other teams, but they don't have the budget to hire a big name crew chief. They don't have the budget to have, 16 extra spare motors and all the other stuff in the trailer. So they're just kind of creeping along at it, and they're making progress. And I think that's great. There are a whole lot of people in the sport that started that way and ended up being superstars.
Absolutely. And they're scrappy, to say the least. I mentioned Todd Payton just because Todd hasn't been out for a while. That's the car that Sean Reed has been driving the past couple of years until now he moves over to Bob Vandegrift Racing. Todd's he's on the entry list, and he told me a little bit about this at PRI. He wants to get back behind the wheel. He wants to set some personal bests. He wants to keep the license and driving ability active, and he'll be out there.
And, we've seen that car make a final round also. So, it's another good quality player, probably not a threat to qualify in the number 1 spot, but certainly a threat to take a spot in the field from somebody else. So it'll be fun to watch. It's always more fun when you've got more cars than you've got spots, because now qualifying means something. Now people have to put a little bit of extra effort in it. And if you have one of the big name cars like Terry McMillan last week that comes out on Friday and for whatever reason has a bad Friday, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, are one of these little independent teams or one of these part-time teams all of a sudden going to kick one of the top 10 guys in the teeth? And I think that makes a fun show for the fans. It certainly makes my job more interesting because, well, I'm not the guy that ends up not qualified.
Absolutely. You get to come no matter what. Reinhart gets to compete no matter what. Let's move over to Funny Car, which it's kind of interesting. We got 18 top fuelers at this race. We only have 16 on the entry list at this moment for Funny Car, which Funny Car has always been, really strong. But big news coming out of Bob Tasca's team. Tasca goes and gets John Schaefer. Like, that's a big play. Mid-season, goes to John Force Racing, and I don't want to characterize the details, but if I was going to, I would say, stole away one of the fresh young minds in John Force Racing.
I think it's more of a trade. Now, you're a baseball guy, right?
Yes.
Mike Green is going to John Force's. So I believe it was more of a trade.
Okay, I like that.
John Schaefer is a really smart guy. You only have to talk to him about 30 seconds, and you know that he's a really smart guy. He hasn't been around the sport long enough to develop a resume like some of the other guys have, but he is a really smart guy. The vast majority of his experience hands-on has been working with funny cars. And this year, he got moved over to the Top Fuel side of the things because Austin Prock ended up in a Top Fuel dragster, and that's where he and Ronnie Thompson, blah, 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 blah. But, I think they've done a decent job with that car. But for John Schaefer, he's always been a funny car guy. Most of his experience is there. You look on the other side of the fence at Mike Green, who is a very highly decorated championship winning, won a lot of races, solid, well-known name in the crew chief industry. But the vast majority of his experience has been with Top Fuel cars. Has he worked on funny cars in the past? Certainly. And of course, he's been, helping Bob Tasca earlier this year. But the vast majority of his experience hands-on has been with a Top Fuel car. And I think this is going to be a plus for both teams. I think that Mike Green, assuming that he's assigned to Austin Prock's car, and I don't know that, but that's my understanding, I think that he is going to be a huge plus right off the bat because he's basically coming home again, coming back to his comfort zone. And I think John Schaefer is going to be doing exactly the same thing, joining Eric Lane over at Bob Tasca's. I think it's a win for both of them. It's kind of a deal where, hey, you need a quarterback and I need a defensive end, and you've got two quarterbacks and I've got two defensive ends. Let's work this out here. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Well, I think that is a cool way to put it, and I'm excited to see John Schaefer, who I guess it was 3 seasons ago where he was promoted at a very young age to be John's crew chief, and they went out and had success, which was which was good. I just don't think he has had the continuity and the time. Of course, it always takes more time than you expect. However much time you expect, it takes more. But I'm interested to see him and Eric Lane work together. I'm very happy that Eric is still over there because I think he's got massive upside potential and is going to be one of the great crew chiefs in the class eventually. But I'm still kind of stuck on the trade deal. Like, okay, this one for that one and a crew member to be named later.
Yeah, and, I don't think that's exactly how it worked out, but that's certainly how it looks on paper. Bob Tasca is very driven and very goal-oriented. His deal is we want to win races and contend for the championship. I have the budget. I have the parts. I have this, and now we need to make this happen. And when you hire somebody, and it's much the same mentality that Don Schumacher's always had. If Don Schumacher hires you to be the crew chief and you tell him, okay, I need to buy my blowers from this guy. I need to buy this from that guy. I need these parts. I need a new clutch dyno. I need a new flow bench. I need this. This is what I need in order to be successful. He will make sure that you have those tools. But don't come back later and go, well, the reason it didn't work out because he don't want to hear it. And Tasca's the same way. He wants people there that can get the job done. And if he doesn't feel like it's being done, then he's not afraid to make a change. Now, to be fair to the guys that are there, Bob Tasca's light years ahead of where he was last year. He's in the top 10 right now. He's got 5 or 6 round wins on the season last year. I don't know that he had any at this point. So, the guys that he had in place certainly made strides over where he was last year, but just, wants to make a move, wants to be aggressive and try to make something happen.
Absolutely. Well, we will see. And I agree. Bob has he did all of that, prodding and work to bring Ford back into the sport. And now they're back and they've invested in a new body. He cannot just sit back and be patient. He's got to be making moves and doing everything he can to break through, get a win. And, once he gets that win, everything changes. But he's got to do it. They've been close. They've had some weird things happen. Parachutes fall out, etc. I think they'll get there. Moving over to Pro Stock Bike. Matt Smith, interesting situation last race out. Didn't think he went red early on. But the Harley-Davidsons looking really strong. Eddie supposedly going to be on the new chassis this week, according to Andrew on the show last week. So going to be very interesting to see how it all shakes out in Pro Stock Motorcycle.
Well, Andrew's got a chip on his shoulder. And, after last year being shut out of the winner's circle, he's certainly back with a vengeance. And, not that you weren't trying last year, but you know as well as I do. And no matter what sport you play, there comes a point where you go, you know what, I've had it. And for whatever reason, you just turn it up a notch or whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe that you get out there on a mission. And it's not like I wasn't trying last week, but now there's just something extra. And I think that Andrew right now has that something extra. I'm a little bit surprised that Angel hasn't performed at a higher level. She's a world championship, world-class rider, no doubt about it. She's on great equipment. And I think there's a little bit of head scratching going on over there as to why she hasn't performed quite as well as the other two Harleys. And I think that that's something that they're going to be looking to address as well.
Absolutely. And I was down in her pit when we were taking the Arby's folks around, and she was very straightforward with them as she was making an introduction to the sport because they had never seen a Pro Stock motorcycle and were enamored by it. And then here's Angel, who's a great personality, and she just said that she was having a tough time keeping the bike straight way down the track and was having to lift. And, the aero and the fairing and the amount of air that hits her, all of those things are things that they are working on. But I think that they've got it pretty much isolated as to, the area. And so we'll see how they're able to work on it.
Well, it's interesting because the Harleys have the smallest fairing of anybody in the class. And Eddie and Andrew both have spent some time in the wind tunnel finding out just exactly, where they need to be in order to balance that aero as far as left and right and to minimize the drag as much as possible. Now that's an advantage that Angel has not had. So, that might be the classic example of, hey, look, I can tell you, how to run the route. And until you do it enough times that you know exactly when to make the turn, then, I can tell you until the end of time, but you've got to do it until you find it. The old thing like riding a bike, I guess that's the easiest thing since we're talking about the pro stock motorcycles. No matter how many times you tell the kid how to balance, it just takes time. And once they got it, they got it. You never forget once you get it. And so I think that that's kind of where they are. She's hasn't quite figured out the sweet spot yet as far as how to tuck, how to be to not have the arrow driver one way or the other. And once she gets it, then I think she'll have it, but they're just not quite there yet.
Very interesting stuff. And it's a fun story to follow as we've kind of had turnover in pro stock motorcycle as well. Karen Stouffer running very well, and heading to the home track of Kelly Clontz, who has been getting better, and Joey Gladstone's got a quick bike. So pro stock motorcycle has been a whole lot of fun. But as has Pro Modified and Factory Stock Showdown also in action this week. Pro Mod, man, wow, what a start to the season. It has been wild. It has been fun. It has been exciting. And here we go again.
I'm not taking anything away from anybody else out there, but right now, let me tell you, if they will give me the baton, I'm going to be the guy leading the Chad Green bandwagon. That thing, it's fast. I think that, a lot of people were kind of writing off the whole nitrous oxide combination, and he's out there showing them that, nope, this thing can run. It can be competitive. I think that's great for the class. All the Navi guys have been just unbelievable, and Stevie Fast has been unbelievable. And you look at, I don't think Ricky Smith expected the learning curve to be this big on a turbo car, but both I can't say and Belushi, because Al Belushi's only been on the turbo car for one, but I think that Ricky's a little bit behind where he thought he would be right now. I'm sure there's someplace testing this past week because that's just what they do. But it's been a fun class to watch. But I'm telling you, Chad Green is the guy who's doing what a whole lot of people said couldn't be done, and he made me a fan.
Wow, I like hearing you say it that way. And all of a sudden, isn't it interesting that, when there's like 3 or 4 of them out there, it's not that big underdog feeling. But all of a sudden, Chad's one of 2? He and Bob Ram running the nitrous. And Bob Ram running the nitrous combination. So all of a sudden, it's like circle the wagons around the nitrous cars. And if you're a fan of nitrous oxide and all that great history that they've had, these are your guys. You have no choice. You have to go with them. And if they're fighting the fight pretty well, that's kind of an interesting story.
Well, I love Ricky Smith, and I've told the story a number of times. He and I worked together for a couple of years at Nickens. When he was the crew chief over there, and I was working with David in the engine shop. And there's a number of times when we'd go testing, sometimes just he and I, he'd do the clutch and drive the car, and I'd do the engine maintenance. And I like Ricky. I've got a lot of respect for Ricky. This isn't in any way, shape, or form meant to be a slam at Ricky. But I find it very interesting that he basically stood on top of the mountain last year and said, if NHRA doesn't change the rules, nitrous cars can't be competitive. You can't race with one of these things. There's no way you can win with one of these. I'm buying a turbo car. And he's been out-qualified by a nitrous car at every race. At least one nitrous car at every race.
Wow. Interesting. I think, I don't know. It's interesting to the whole Ricky deal. We did a Facebook Live with him in Charlotte, and we asked about all this. And he spent 50% of the time still championing the nitrous cars. And I'm like, but Ricky, you switched. Why is it? He goes, yeah, but I don't care about that. He seems like he still is fighting the fight as if he was a nitrous car, even though he is no longer.
Well, I do think that he still has the nitrous car sitting in his shop. And I also would not be, let's just say that I wouldn't fall over in shock if at some point going forward, he rolled a nitrous car out of a trailer instead of the turbo car.
Wow, that'd be interesting.
I think if you get to a position where you're looking at the weather forecast and it's like one of those, okay, this is going to be a nitrous-friendly weekend, and I have zero inside knowledge, haven't asked him about it. I'm just saying that I know Ricky, and he certainly is not afraid to make a drastic change if he thinks it would be an advantage for him. So I think if we got to a situation where, the weather conditions are conducive, that it's going to be a good weekend for nitrous cars, that he might just roll one out.
Wow. Very, very interesting, very exciting. And then, of course, everybody's favorite new class, relatively new, samtech.edu Factory Stock Showdown. And hopefully all of our listeners are subscribed to Factory Stock Podcast this week. We got Kevin Skinner. We've also got Ned Walliser, the VP of Competition for NHRA. Ned is going to lay out all the rules changes and why and what they're doing and what they hope to accomplish. Of course, I still want to continue to talk about it here on NHRA Nitro because this is a very interesting class the way it has worked. But if you're a Ford fan and you're saying they keep hitting us on the rules, at least you've won a couple of races. I feel a little bad for the Chevy Camaro guys who have been also dinged by rules changes, but have yet to show any real results.
Well, just because they haven't gotten a trophy doesn't mean that they haven't shown some pretty solid performance. And, you know, the old what would have, what might have, you know, I'm not saying David Barton was going to win the race in Florida, but he darn sure had a car that was capable of it until the incident out there in whatever it was, the semifinals or the quarterfinals where he actually crashed the car. Came back in a backup car the next race and still was fast. It's going to be interesting to see just exactly where these rule changes, how much that equals the playing field, because I don't think there's any question during the off season, you know, Ford and Chevrolet petitioned for some new parts and some different stuff and some new technology, and the Mopar guys decided to stand pat. The table certainly was tilted strongly against the Mopar group, even though they did look like they picked up a little bit of performance, at least on the qualifying side of it. And NHRA has been pretty adamant since the beginning about, you know, what the goal is for this class, and that is to keep all three manufacturers involved, to have parity, to have, you know, so everybody's got an opportunity, and not let somebody run away with it, because you know as well as I do, if the rules favored Ford, in 6 months we'd have 25 Mustangs, 2 Camaros, and 1 Dodge.
Right.
And nobody wants that. You've got to have the rivalries in between the manufacturers, and the fans love that as well. The fans, when they're standing in the stands going, my brand beat your brand, or the number of times, how many times have we said on this show, somebody stands up there in the grandstand and says, I have a car just like that. And while the engine combination certainly isn't the same, there are a lot of fans in the stands that do have a new Camaro, a new Mustang, or a new Challenger, and it looks just like that.
Right. And that's the whole point of the whole class and why it is extremely unique, because people do say that. And I even have the weird flashbacks on the way home from a race after watching these Camaros and Mustangs and Challengers battle. You're going to see 50 of them on the way home, and it can't help but remind you of the racing you just saw.
Yep, that's it. And that's, you know, that's the whole plan. Is it was that way back in the day, you know, when they were making the hot rod Camaros and the hot rod Mustangs and even the Hemi Barracudas. You know, certainly not everybody was going to buy one of those to drive on the street, but if you had a 6-cylinder car, or if you had a low horsepower 2-barrel car, you still could identify with the car on the racetrack because they looked the same. They were, you know, the same fenders, the same windshields, the same headlights. There was nothing about that race car that was different from yours from a visual aspect, and that makes you identify, and that hopefully makes you root for one.
There you have it. Great job, Alan. Any other subjects or topics or thoughts that you want to address while we got you on here? You know, there's endless news out there that we could continue to go over, but the bottom line is we got racing this weekend.
No, I think we're in pretty good shape. I'm looking forward to getting back to Virginia Motorsports Park. I think that, you know, Tommy Franklin, who owns the racetrack, his team that's in place that runs that, you know, last year, it literally was a last-minute thing when Englishtown dropped the axe on us and they wanted to make a move. And last year, they found a number of things that they thought they could do better. But, you know, it was basically their first trial by fire. And they decided this year that, okay, we've had a year to do this. We're going to make some improvements. I know that they've made a lot of improvements to the facility. And the one thing that I think the fans should give a big tip of the cap to is, if you're willing to give up profit to help your fans, I think that's huge. And for those who don't know, you're going to be parking free at Virginia this year. And what Tommy basically said is, you know, we have enough of a traffic issue getting in here with where we are and the roads coming in, and that the traffic has a tendency to back up. And we're making it worse by charging for parking and stopping everybody to get their $10 or whatever the parking charge is. So we're giving that up. It's going to be free parking because we want it to be easier for our fans to get in. We don't want them sitting in line that long. And I think that's just one of the things that he's looking at from a customer service standpoint. Even though it's going to cost him a substantial amount of money, he's willing to do that to make it a better experience for his customers. And I applaud that as loud as I possibly can.
Well, I agree completely. And I had a great time at the track last year, and getting to meet Tommy and what they have done, the lighting, the surface, the investment they're putting in. Now they're giving up profit, which nobody does. But I agree. You got to get the people in there quick and fast as much as possible, as best as possible, and grow this thing into a spectacular event, and they'll end up making it on the back end, hopefully. I think that is great, and I did not know that, and thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just one thing. They literally, I saw Tommy walking around with a legal pad in his hand, going, okay, this is something we could do better next year. Let's figure out how we can do this better. And some of it's going to be big, some of it's going to be not so big, but it's all geared to having the fans have a better experience when they come out to his racetrack.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. Very cool. Well, Alan, great job as usual. We are just a few days away from the Virginia Nationals. I'll be out there. I know you'll be out there. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. It is going to be great. Thank you for coming on WFO, starting us off right.
Joe, always a pleasure. Travel safely, and I will see you in a few days.
There he goes, the voice of the NHRA. Alan Reinhart will be in Richmond, Virginia for the Virginia Nationals this weekend. We got Greg Anderson coming up next. We got Mike Janis. We got Kelly Clontz all on this show. Going to have a whole lot of fun. I had the most amazing weekend this past weekend. I will probably tell you a little bit about it in my time, but honestly, to be straightforward with you, we are in a total thrash here at the start of the week to get ready and get out the door for Richmond. I got to go do some travel for Masters Television, and we are thrashing. So at some point, maybe on the Ignition Show, you'll hear about my most amazing weekend. Maybe it'll be on the mic at NHRA, but I'll give you a little tip. Went to the capital of the United States, place known as Washington, D.C., and went down to Quantico, saw the United States Museum of the Marine Corps, got a tour of the Capitol building, saw the House of Representatives taking a vote, then went to the Marine Barracks, D.C. at 8th and I and watched a sunset parade. Just incredible. I can't say enough how great it was. And I'll prove that point by talking a little bit about it later on. But right now I want to tell you about Hussey Copper Head Gaskets. Do you make big power? Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specifications. Any bore, any size, any thickness. We're talking about 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis. We're talking about turbocharged Pro Mods, tractor pull engines, Honda engines. Whatever you've got, they make the gaskets. Hussey stocks gaskets in increments of 1/1000th of an inch, and if they don't stock it, they can custom make it. What this does, it allows racers to get the exact compression ratio they're going for, in particular the nitro categories. So you nitro teams, if you're not using Hussey gaskets, you need to get on the program, baby. These guys are doing a great job. Hussey Performance gaskets are the most accurate head gaskets on the market because they have over 40 years experience and know exactly where and how to purchase copper at the tightest tolerances. We're talking about half a thou. That's crazy. They've been doing it a long time, but it won't take a long time to get your gaskets. Typically, they can make a custom gasket in less than a week. Plus, they have next-day shipping available. Here's the deal. Call David Allen directly. This is his cell phone number, 724-318-8292. 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. One more thing. David personally inspects every single gasket that they ship. He's walking around with a micrometer at all times. 724-318-8292. All their machines made in America, everything made in America, and that is important to me. Check them out, husseyperformance.net. All right, when we come back, it'll be Greg Anderson as Pro Stock is back.
This is WFO Radio.
Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants. The folks at Hangstafers on board with big racers like Antron Brown and Lucas Oil Series, sportsman racers in the Racing RVs Top Dragster category. And their number one goal at Hangstafers is to increase the productivity in the shop. You got to go to the website and check them out. And so go to hangstafers.com to find out more information. We're happy to have them on board, happy to have them helping our WFO radio listeners in their shop. Hangstafers, metalworking, lubricants, trying to make you a little more efficient in the shop.
Hey, this is Scott Palmer, driver of the NHRA Cat Spot Litter Top Fuel Dragster. Do you have a cat? Go to catspotlitter.com, order it today. All natural product, made out of coconuts, 100% biodegradable. All you NHRA fan, cat owners, support our team. Go to catspotlitter.com.
Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions. The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro Podcast. Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience. In the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. You know all this, everybody. Here's the deal. The folks at samtech.edu have built a school so that people can get involved in racing, in technology, in CNC machining, motorsport EFI, all of these things in a more efficient and easy way. You're learning from people who know and have the connections to place you after you've gone through their programs. Those two things are invaluable. In addition to blockhead and CNC programs, they now have motorsport EFI tuning, which is very important, especially if you want to be involved in a category like samtech.edu Factory Stock Showdown, where they're talking about mapping and EFI, all of that stuff. SAM's a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. So start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today. And always remember this. When you love what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work. And being involved in racing, around race cars, around racers, or maybe aerospace, it is a position that if you love it, every day you go to work, you're not going to feel like going to work. Now, I can't promise you because I don't know exactly what you want to do, but go to the folks at samtech.edu to find out more information. And someone that I know absolutely loves what he does every day. Joining us now, an exclusive, as we are about to return to the pro stock world this weekend at the Virginia Nationals. We might as well connect with the winningest active pro stock racer out there, Greg Anderson. Greg, welcome back to WFO. How are you?
Good to be back, Joe. I'm doing good.
Now, you guys are back. You guys are back. I missed you. You guys are back now out on the tour. What have you been doing, and what has it been like to not be at 3 national events in a row?
Well, I can't lie. It's been very strange. It's been like another off season, like December through February 1st. It seems like to me. It seems like it's been a long time. It's been odd. It's been weird, but we used it to work on our stuff, to do some special projects and try and make our race team better. We're all certainly regenerated. We're charged up. We're anxious to go racing. It's when the Charlotte race was here a couple 3 weeks ago, I went out there and it was a very odd feeling to be there without my race car. I think I have no earthly idea how long, probably 30 years since I've been at a race without a race car. So very strange. I was like a fish out of water, and it tells you how much you really miss it. So we are more than ready to get back at it. I think we're recharged. We've heard from a lot of fans in the off break, whatever you want to call it. Why have you guys not been at the races? So it's been, I guess, a bit of a surprise to a lot of the fans that we haven't been there. And, I don't have a great way to explain it. Bottom line is all I can tell them is, we're taking a little break and we're itching to get back and can't wait to get back. So it's time. It's finally time, and I'm excited. It feels like the first race of the season to me.
So let's dive in, because I didn't see you out at Charlotte. Of course, I wanted to, but it was a crazy busy weekend. I can tell you my perspective that when Pro Stock is not there, there's a gaping hole in the program if you're like me and you're a Pro Stock fan. Maybe if you're not a Pro Stock fan, you don't notice, but I noticed. So what were you doing out there? Just walking around? Were you helping other people with their stuff? What does Greg Anderson do at a race when he's not racing?
We were out there helping a couple of Copo customers that race in the factory shootout class. So that was fun, and that's interesting. It's kind of almost like a junior Pro Stock. So it's a lot like when we first started this class. And, it's getting pretty serious. The racers in that class are learning how to be serious about racing. And it's interesting. There's a lot to learn with a lot of the guys in the class, and we're trying to help out a little bit. So that's what we did. It was still definitely odd, definitely a weird feeling, but bottom line is now we get back to normal business, and a lot of the guys in the class, I'm sure, have used this off time for, the things they should do to get recharged with their families and do things right. I feel I've done the same thing. So, sometimes I've heard that for years. Sometimes you just got to step back and you got to take a break, and I've been stubborn and I haven't really done that, but I was kind of forced to this year, and it's been good. So I'm not arguing. I think it's been fine, but don't get me wrong. We're double ready to get back.
Well, exactly. And so I've been spending some time thinking about this situation, and we know that the 18-race schedule, and maybe it wasn't publicized as much as it could have been, because I do agree, I ran into fans that were like, hey, where's Pro Stock? And my thought is, you obviously don't follow NHRA social media or go to NHRA.com or listen to WFO or go to Competition Plus or go to any of the major outlets, and there are thousands and thousands of fans that just don't. They watch the cars and go to events and don't follow the ins and outs of the daily grind, and it was unfortunate for them, but now you're back. But my thought is, how can this not be very helpful to a team like KB Racing that can use the time to develop? In Formula One, for instance, there's that summer break that they have where it's mandatory. Nobody works on anything. They check you. You're not allowed to email. You're not allowed to do anything. The dynos cannot run. That's not the case with this. You guys could be using this time. So let me ask you, what did you do?
We've been burning a lot of gas on the dyno. We've been out at the racetrack testing. We've used it as a time to try and make some hay, to make some ground up. And I've always told people that we love our time at the shop, and everybody that's ever met Jason Line certainly understands that's his gig. He loves to work on engines. He loves to work in the shop. The driving the race car is just kind of secondary. So we love our time at our shop. We've got a beautiful shop here that Ken Black has furnished us. And, it's enjoyable to come to work every day here to the shop. Any idea we think we can possibly come up with in our head, we can try and build that project when we get to work each day. So we kind of rush into the shop every day and can't wait to get there. And that's the way it's been. And, there's drawbacks to it, too. Obviously, it's been a little bit of a tough deal to adjust financially to it, because you set your budgets for the year and you have your sponsorships and everything set in place, and then when you knock out a fourth of the races, well, a fourth of those expenses don't really go away. So that's been the tough part, adjusting financially. But as far as everything else, as far as recharging the guys, as far as catching up on projects that need to be done, all that's been a positive. So I think between you and I, Joe, and I'm not quite sure. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't look into the future, but I think when some of your top fuel and funny car guys look at this deal, a lot of them are going to say, wish we could find a way to maybe trim, a few races off the schedule, because the 24-race schedule, it's tough and it becomes a grind. And if you're not a full-time, fully sponsored race car team, you probably would prefer that. And we have a lot of those in Pro Stock, but you have a lot of those in top fuel and funny car too. So who knows? I don't know what's going to happen down the road, but I think a lot of your top fuel funny car guys are going to say, maybe we'd like to somehow adjust our schedule to that.
Wow, that's interesting to hear you say, and of course I'll get the feedback on that. A lot of different moving parts and pieces with that. But, yes, it is a great challenge to get out there. And who better to comment on it than someone coming out of the 3 weeks off, or the 3 events off, more than 3 weeks off. But let's go back to, real quick, any crazy number, like we made X amount of dyno pulls during this break. Like, do you keep track of that stuff? Some sort of stat, like KB Racing, made 150 dyno pulls or something between last race.
I probably haven't got a number on it, Joe, but I can tell you out of the 5 weekends off we've had, I guess that's 25 working days, Monday through Friday. I'll bet there hasn't been 5 of those 25 days that a dyno hasn't been running. So it's a lot. It's how you make progress in this class, no doubt about it. And we went out to the Charlotte track on the Monday after the national event there and tested. So we've been on track. We're going again tomorrow to Darlington to do some more on-track testing. So we're doing all we can do to make our product better. And the class has been exciting all year long. It's been very, very even. There's a lot of cars that can win races. Unfortunately, Jason and mine haven't been 2 of them so far. Bo's had a good run, good start. But Jason and I apparently needed a reset. So we got a reset here. We got a chance to start the season over, so to speak, in our minds. And, hopefully we've used our time to the best and we can come out swinging.
Well, I think it's very interesting. The elite guys, for instance, guys and girls, they've been out running Pro Mod, and they've been involved in other stuff that's happening at the racetrack. Well, you guys have been at the shop working, and so I think it's going to be a very interesting juxtaposition to see where you are in relationship to them. They've been at the track running Pro Mod and other things, and you guys have been camped out doing R&D.
Yep, definitely a different way of going about things, and it'll be kind of that feeling you have when you roll into Pomona. You're anxious, you're nervous, you don't know where you're going to stack up. And kind of the same feeling here. Who's made ground over the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks? And we'll see when we get to Richmond. And Richmond's a great pro stock track. It's great pro stock fans there. It's a beautiful facility. The Franklins did a great job with the facility last year. We were all just amazed at what it was, and it was hotter than racing on the sun there last year. So this year it's not going to be. It's going to be, low 80s. It's going to be absolutely perfect, beautiful conditions on a beautiful racetrack. So I can't wait to get there. I can't think of a better place to restart our season.
Now, I don't want to bring up bad stuff, but I can't imagine the way you ended off the last race was a great way to go into a large break, like the largest break during active activity that you've ever experienced, having run low ET in the final round at Vegas and losing on a double hole shot to Bo, which was incredible. But you have had a quick car. That is my point, is that the car was quick, and you're knocking at the door. And there have been a lot of times going back the past season, last year even, where you had the quick hot rod and just things didn't go your way. Now, having won all the races you've won over your career, the math is going to go against you at some point. There have been times where you've had great luck, and now you're having some bad luck. But is it all going to come together now? Is that the plan?
We're certainly hoping so, and don't get me wrong, over these last 5 weeks, we haven't just worked on the dyno and on track. We worked on ourselves, too. We've got to be better drivers, without a question. And the stakes are, in pro stock, the price of poker is high. You can't go up there and throw out a 50, 60, 70 light and expect to win anymore. The cars are all too even. The drivers are all too good. It's just it's a high level of racing, and you got to bring your A game. And unfortunately, I haven't brought my A game lately, and I have to if I want to win again, and I certainly do want to win again. So that's certainly been part of our project here over the last 5 weeks too, finding a way to get better at that. And you have to scratch every surface of these race cars. You have to scratch every surface of your mind, and because don't get me wrong, the driving end of it is a mind game. It's not necessarily a physical deal. You're not in the car for 4 hours. You don't get physically fatigued or anything like that. So it's pretty much all between the ears. And, you just got to get that right. So you got to get that focus back. And I've certainly had it in the past, and I know I can get it back. And we'll see what happens this weekend.
Any time spent on changing the car, we hear about other racers doing different adjustments, whether it be, seat location, whether it be work with the pedals, whether it be those kind of things. Apparently there's some hay to be made there. Is that ground that you guys have already covered, or is that ground that you can always go back and try to improve?
Yeah, that's always something you can try to improve, and it seems like that's a changing target. It seems like once you get comfortable with a certain setup and then it goes away, you got to go to a different type of setup, and you got to be able to change. You got to be able to rotate. You got to be able to do different things, and it seems what worked 6 months ago, maybe it doesn't work now. You got to find a different way. So you're always looking, and you're always going back and forth, and you do whatever you can. You can't sit still. If you keep doing what you're doing, you usually keep getting what you're getting, and what we've been getting lately hasn't been great. So we got to stop doing what we're doing something different, and see how that shakes out.
What did you think of the Mountain Motor show in general? You've told me on this show, I've asked you in the past, and you've been willing to volunteer ideas, which not everybody does. Over the past 5 years, say, you've been on many times, and the what do we do with Pro Stock question comes up every couple of months. We'll go through a cycle where everybody wants to talk about what's up with Pro Stock. And a couple of years ago, you said maybe 100 more cubic inches to kind of shake the Etch-a-Sketch and start from scratch and allow the cars to go faster. Certainly you want to go faster. Now we just saw an experience with these 800-plus cubic inch cars. They're running 620s. They're running 225, which is neat and all. But from what I understand is they're not developing the way you guys are developing. And so what did you think of, and what do you think of right now where we're at now that this other Mountain Motor situation has come up? We now know they got 3/10 and let's call it 12 miles per hour on what we have right now. That doesn't seem like that much, honestly. And frankly, my appreciation of the 500 cubic inch Pro Stock engine went up seeing these cars. That having been said, not everybody looks at it the same way I do. What do you think?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. For 500 cubic inches, basically the cars are the same. The driveline's the same in the things. They've got 850 cubic inch or whatever they've got. You would think it'd be a bigger gap. You'd think they'd be a lot faster. So that shows you right there how much technology is in the current NHRA Pro Stock, the 500-inch Pro Stock, and how refined we've made these engines and how refined we've made these cars. So that's the cool part about the class. And I think that we failed to appeal to that, translate that to the fans, what's really special about Pro Stock. They all run so close together, but they all run it at a very high level for what the engine is and for how big the engine is. They all run very, very fast. So a lot of technology in the class, and I've said it before, Joe, and when we talked about this project last year of trying to find a way to meld the Mountain Motor Pro Stocks in with us, I thought it'd be an interesting deal. And now after seeing them on the racetrack, see how fast they run, see what we do, I still think it'd be a good idea. And, we ran into roadblocks of how we'd pull it off, how we'd pull off the parity, but I think we gave up too early on trying to figure out how to make that happen. I still think it would be a good idea. They're different than what we are. They have a slightly different look. They've got the hood scoop. They've got the carburetor. They run faster, but still it's a different type of fast, and I think people like both. I really do. I believe people like both, and I think if you can find a way to run them both against each other, I don't have the exact answer on how you do it, but it can be done, and I honestly think that maybe we gave up too early on that plan and didn't find the right way to do it, and maybe down the road it's something we need to look at again.
Wow, that is interesting. And so you're not the only one to say that. In fact, I had a conversation with someone out in Charlotte who said, just throwing it out there, and obviously don't hold me to any of this, not that I have the ability to do it, but if they gave you guys an extra 100 cubic inches and put 100 pounds on the Mountain Motors, that this person felt like you guys would be able to, I believe the quote was, whoop them.
It'd be fun. It would be very interesting, and I'm not against it at all. I'm for it. I think it's times change, Joe, and things get stale, and I really appreciate the class we race in. I appreciate the talent that's in it. I appreciate the technology that's in it. But don't get me wrong, when there aren't major changes as time goes on year to year, sometimes things get stale, and I think this would be a great way of shaking things up. So I'm all for that.
Well, that is great, and that you haven't given up on that, and that there's more, hopefully more changes down the road. I agree. You got to try stuff. You got to try different things, and hopefully we will continue. But we have had full fields, and that is, was goal number one, and that goal seems to have been accomplished with this change.
Yeah, no question about it, and I'm sure you're going to see this weekend. Everybody that races this class is going to have the biggest smile in the world on their face. They're going to be so anxious to get back. They're going to be so excited to get back on the racetrack. We love to race. That's why we do it. We love to race, and don't get me wrong, we love our race shop too, but we'd love to take it to the racetrack and prove out our wares, so to speak. So it's going to be an exciting weekend, and I know that everybody there is going to be very, very excited to be there.
You said that fans had been reaching out to you, confused or concerned that, like, what are you doing? Where are you? What's up?
Yes, for sure, and a lot of them. And I'm not talking just a couple of close friends or anything. I'm talking a lot of people, and it seems like pretty much everywhere I go that people recognize you, whatever. They ask, what's the deal? Why have you guys not been racing? When are you racing again? So Pro Stock's got a big fan following. We know that. We believe in it. We believe in the class, and we know that it's got a lot of support. So, the world is going to be right again this weekend is all I can say, Joe.
You are 9th in the point standings, 217 behind Bo, but Bo's got a 140-point lead over second-place Alex Laughlin. So, yeah, you're 9th, but you're really not that far out of second if you really think of it, less than, 80 points or so out of second. That having all been said, you need to make a little hay. The season is shorter. The countdown starts sooner. It's not like it has been in the past. Have you, mapped out the season and where you want to be at a certain race, et cetera, since it's not, you can't rely on the, 20-plus years of experience that you had?
No, I haven't mapped it out, but I certainly realize it's a shorter season. You've got less time to get your stuff right, and you cannot make too many more mistakes because there's a lot more than 10 quality cars that'll be in the top 10 that can make the top 10. So I don't want to be one of those guys left out for sure. And quite honestly, like I said earlier, Jason and I, we needed this reset. We need to restart our season and focus on the things we've been doing wrong. We've underachieved to start the year, and that can't continue. We've got to do a better job, and hopefully, the game starts anew this weekend.
All these customer cars, so to speak, like how do you refer to them? You were talking about Derek, we're talking about Fernando, Bo, of course, then you and Jason, maybe even others in the future, kind of the business model of KB Racing, perhaps expanding or changing. I don't know how you look at that, but there are people that want to race Pro Stock, and they are coming to you to help them do it. That's got to put some stress on your the system, right? You've got X amount of guys that work on X, and now that number has increased, which causes a challenge. Do you feel sorted out in terms of that? Have you adjusted to the increase in cars?
I think so. I mean, it's always going to be a question. No question about that. And when the two primary cars, obviously the two primary KB cars, Jason Lyon and Greg Anderson's cars don't win, that's always going to be a question. But, the reality is all these customers, they're great customers. We've certainly been very fortunate on who we've been able to race with and rent engines to. So I think that's been a positive. We always learn from those cars. And, the bottom line is, we aren't not winning races because our cars aren't performing. We haven't done a good enough job behind the wheel, so you can't necessarily blame that on the customers and things. And it's been like this for the last 3-4 years, so I think we've adjusted, and it's just an excuse, quite honestly. And that's not what's holding us back. It's just the details that we haven't done a great job with. So not going to worry about that. It's what it takes nowadays to continue to race. It's our new business model, but it's not a brand new one. It's been in the works for the last 3-4 years, and it's what it is. And we're not using that excuse.
That is great to hear. Greg, let me ask you about the factory stock showdown cars. So you guys have clients or customers, you're providing power. If you can share who the people are that you're providing power for so that fans of KB Racing know who they want to root for out there in factory stock showdown would be very cool. And then, of course, your thoughts on these engines in that they are like stock and available parts, and there are different challenges. Boosted power plants is something I don't know how new it is to you, but what do you think of them as you are kind of digging deeper into it?
Well, it's been a learning curve for sure. Our two customers are Pete Gasco and Kevin Lumsden, and they're great guys. They're great racers, and they're learning that this class is quickly becoming a full-on deal. It's not your normal stock eliminator class, obviously, and it's going to take, a full-on effort to compete in it. A lot of great guys already competing in the class, so the level of competition is pretty serious already. The blower deal, we knew absolutely nothing about a blower, Joe, and we probably know 10% about what we needed to know about a blower now. So learning curve, but it's been interesting, and we always like to learn. No question about that, and we're going forward. We're learning day by day, and it's like any project that you take on for the first time. You're not probably going to conquer it right away, and we're gaining on it. We're getting better. we're learning together with these two teams that we race with, and it's been very interesting. And the blower deal, you know, it's like when we first switched to fuel injection, we hardly knew how to turn on a computer, how to run a laptop computer, and I think we've progressed a lot. We've learned a lot about it. We're learning the same thing with blowers, but you know, they say you can't teach old dogs new tricks. Well, we're trying. We're old dogs, but we're trying to learn new tricks.
If offered, or perhaps you have been offered, or perhaps it has happened in testing, or you know what I'm getting at, would you drive one? Do you want to drive one? Are you intrigued by them? I know they're slower, but they're so much heavier that maybe they feel really fast.
Yeah, it would be kind of interesting. I've never been in one. You know, quite honestly, Joe, I've never been in any other car. The only thing I've ever driven is Pro Stock, so it would certainly be a different challenge, a different ride. I have no earthly idea what it'd feel like, and who knows? Yeah, if I get the opportunity, I may try it. It's another challenge, just another challenge. But you know me, I try to focus on this Pro Stock stuff as much as I can and do a better job to get better at it every day. I hope I'm not done winning. I want to win again. I want to win some more. And, you know, I'm trying to make myself better at Pro Stock right now. So right now the focus is on that, you know, as far as the driving end of it. And, you know, we're playing with engines on the other stuff, but that's as far as it goes right now.
Well, listen, that's one of my favorite stats about you. One that blew my mind is that you've never been down the drag strip in anything other than your Pro Stock car.
I haven't. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It's insane.
People don't usually believe that when I tell them.
I don't believe it, but you've told me over and over again, and now I believe you because why wouldn't I? Crazy. Never like Greg, what about, you know, you made a run in a Chevy truck when you were a kid? Nope. Pro Stock. That's it. It's awesome.
That's it.
That is great, though. It's cool. Greg, thank you very much for, submitting to the questions here on WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. I really appreciate it. I missed Pro Stock in general, but you know I'm a big fan, and I'm really hoping that this weekend is the rebirth and of the understanding of what Pro Stock means to so many fans. Like, oh, yeah, these guys, we can't miss you if you're not gone, right? And now you've been gone, and so now you're coming back. And I'm really hoping for a big weekend, and I'm thrilled that Pro Stock in general, you guys specifically, are going to be back out there at the Virginia Nationals.
I am too, Joe. And as I said earlier, I can't think of a better place. This racetrack is a neat racetrack, and it's always been strong as far as Pro Stock support. So we're excited to get there. No question about it. I'm not making that up. It's not just a line. It's a fact. I got a big smile on my face, and I will all the way through the weekend.
Well, very good. Greg, thank you very much. Good luck this weekend, and I can't wait to see where you guys are after having 5 weeks to R&D and do your thing and now head back out to the racetrack. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic to see where you guys end up. Thank you for coming on WFO Radio. Thank you for making the time for us.
Thank you very much, Joe. See you this weekend.
Thanks, Greg. Greg Anderson with us here on WFO Radio. Greg been coming on for as long as we have had the show. Definitely one of our most frequent guests over the years. Have I ever actually counted up who has been on the show the most? No. But Greg's been on a lot, and our archive is loaded. You can get in there and check out the archive, and that's why you want to subscribe and hear all the shows, all that stuff. Going to be great. We are loving it. Absolutely loving it. Kelly Clontz, Mike Janis. Coming up right now, though, I want to tell you about FrankHawley.com and the Dragster Adventure. And like I tell you every week, right? Just want to remind you. That's why people sponsor on WFO Radio, because I'm in your ear and I'm telling you and reminding you. Go to the website, FrankHawley.com. Check out the Dragster Adventure. I've been there so many times that my computer just goes straight there. Look at the dates, whether it be Baytown or Woodburn or Summit Motorsports Park or Maple Grove Raceway. The Dragster Adventure is going there. And if you're anywhere near there, this is your chance to drive a dragster. You get 3 runs down the track, a half track and 2 full track. That's burnouts. That's bringing the car to a stop is exciting and thrilling, plus hanging out with Frank Hawley. They are doing so well with this program because it gives you the opportunity to do something I'm sure you've always wanted to do, go 130 miles per hour in the quarter mile, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, driving a dragster with the engine behind the driver without any of the major investment. For less than the cost of a good helmet, you are actually going out there and having the whole experience. And from that point, you can move forward. And they are doing a lot of great things. They are sold out in a lot of places. You're going to want to go to the website or give them a call, 866-480-7223. And here I am telling you about it, 866-480-7223. 23 for Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure. Now, if you want to go and get your license for Super Comp or Super Gas or Alcohol Funny Car or other things, they've got all of that. But in my opinion, this is the dive-in point. This is the very beginning. Like if you're a podcast listener, you think, man, I'd love to do that. This is how you do it. Get out there, do the Dragster Adventure, get the briefest of tastes, and then accelerate from there. 866-480-7223, frankhawley.com. When we come back, it's going to be Mike Janis talking Pro Mod after this.
It ain't just wide open, it's WFO.
Hussey Performance copper head gaskets. Do you make big power? That's the question. Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size and thickness. From 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or even big tractors, Hussey Performance makes the gaskets. If you're a racer, you're thinking about, well, how long does this take? Typically less than a week. They want to help you make the race. Next day shipping is also available. What to do? You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. And one more thing, it's all made in America, including the machines they use. That is huge. 724-318-8292, Hussey Performance, copper head gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the block, head, and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Drag Racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radial. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine.
Hey, what's up, WFO Universe? It's Kathy Fisher. Join me along with Joe Castello every Sunday morning on Motor Trend for Performance TV. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you then.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
NHRA Nitro podcast, getting ready for Virginia and the Virginia Nationals. And just so many great stories. The season is rolling. I'm super excited. The return of Pro Stock, Pro Mod back out there. Samtech.edu Factory Stock Showdown. We've got the Factory Stock podcast is up. Ned Walliser from NHRA going to be on it. You got to check it all out. It is going to be a whole lot of fun. And somebody that I know listens to all of these podcasts is Marvin Rodak from RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com. And got all kinds of coffees. Like I start my day every day with some Rodak's coffee. By the way, I'm running low. Now it's the time where I need to reload. I'm like, what am I going to get? Is it going to be Bang the Blower? Is it going to be the Funny Car Chaos? Is it going to be the WFO Radio Blend? What am I going to get? What am I going to ask Marvin for? And that is the great question of my life, because I enjoy it so much. Going through the process of grinding up my own beans. They're roasted fresh per my order. And so they're going to come fresh, and I'm going to open the box, and the aroma is going to be amazing. But they also have, like, exotics, like the Costa Rica Black Honey and the Brazil Espirito Santo and the Guatemala Triple X. Got all that stuff. You got to give Marvin a call and, like, ask him, Marvin, here's the thing, all right? I lead a exciting and inventorful life, and I want to have a coffee that goes along with it. What's going to work for me? And he'll get you on the right track. Good stuff. They've got mugs. They've got tools for grilling. Like if you need a Primo ceramic grill, if you want a Fire Magic gas grill, all of these things are available at Rodak's. Really high-end stuff or regular stuff. It all depends on you. Plus tips and tools and recipes. Go to the website, RODAKS, Rodak's, coffeeandgrills.com to check out everything they've got. And even better than that is give Marvin a call, 817-924-6821. Simple as that. 817-924-6821. Hey, Marvin. Joe is talking about all this great stuff, and I'm kind of overwhelmed when I listen to the podcast, and I'm in a different frame of mind, but I do like coffee and hot sauce and spice rub. What do you have that's good? Send me like a sampler, and Marvin will, and you will love it. The Habanero Endorphin Booster Hot Sauce is just tremendous. The Peruvian Spice Rub is incredible. You know, grilling season is coming, and you need to get on board. Give him a call, 817-924-6821. That's Rodax, coffeeandgrills.com. Next up here on WFO Radio Podcast, it was a couple of weeks ago after the NGK 4-wides that we did not catch up with the E3 Spark Plugs Pro Modified winner. But it is always my goal to make sure that you, the WFO Radio listener, hear from everybody that earns their way on the show, and that is the case here, so we are going to make it right. And joining us now, prior to the Virginia Nationals, where he will be in action, Mike Janis joins us. Mike, welcome back. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
Now, I know that we have since had another race, and you are not the most recent winner on the tour, but that win out there at the 4-wides, still a big, big deal, and helped you out in the point standings as well. You are now third.
Yeah, it was a big deal for us just to, we had won Indy a few years back, and I thought that was like the biggest deal there was. But this 4-wide, I wasn't fond of it. Racing in it's a little hectic, getting used to it. But I got the hang of it after a couple qualifiers, and I kind of like it now. Just definitely feather in our hat,
Funny how that works, Mike. Funny how that works.
Yeah. Just, you know what I mean? It's just like winning Indy all over again, winning a 4-wide, something different. And, a lot of the competition there was just crazy. I don't know if you watched the one round. We had 3 of the cars went 582. We went a 581 with a 9, I think it was. And I think the worst reaction time was a 040 light. On all 4 cars, it was just like an awesome run. I think it's probably one of the tightest runs, Pro Mod had,
Wow. Well, I'm blown away for a couple of things. First of all, Steve Torrance, same situation. Oh, I don't like this stuff. And then as soon as you figure it out, it's like, oh, I love this stuff. And so that's...
Yeah, right.
That's cool in and of itself. And I think that's a lesson to the people who are out there who are still struggling. It's like, don't judge it because maybe it's you. And the guys who are figuring out how to win this thing end up liking it so much that you have gone a step that I've never heard. You compared it to winning Indy.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, one of the, things on the bucket list, I guess, the 4-wide, it's definitely a great feeling.
Well, it's different. It is certainly different.
Yeah,
and that's
different.
what makes
different.
it interesting and out of the ordinary, that you've done something that, and very few, first of all, there's only a couple of people who have the opportunity to do it. And you are one of the very rare winners.
Yep. Yeah. There's definitely a different driving technique with it. There's quite a bit to it, but like you said, once you get the hang of it, it's all good.
And if memory serves me right, it was you and Ricky in lanes 1 and 2, and you guys were thousandths apart, and so that had to be fun.
Yeah, I believe it was like 5 thousandths, and naturally being a turbo car, you don't see them until right at the end, and you don't know who won. And that, even at the end, they're a little confused with all the 4 cars, and so you pull around the corner. Usually they pull you by the camera, and hey, we got this one. Well, no one's doing nothing. So I'm like, oh, okay, we lost. And here they, Ricky didn't know either. Just it was that close.
Wow, that's very cool and very challenging. But since then, we actually have had another race, and you went to the semis, and so you were able to keep the strong performances going, ultimately bowing out to eventual winner Mike Castello. But as champion of the series, it's got to be good to get out of the box relatively strong.
Yeah, we started off Gainesville a little weak there. We had some issues with the car, and with the last 3 races, we've been, plugging away, and we got to keep going rounds, And this past week, everybody that counted went out. Stevie and Todd Tutterow, went out before me, so I definitely picked up some good points, and that's what it's all about, round by round.
Well, it is, and Exactly. That's the series. You got to feel for, like, you don't have to feel for it. I expect you to actually be against it. But for Stevie Fast, who had made all the final rounds of the season so far, to have some sort of malfunction, lose first round, and then you guys are able to gain all that ground that he built up, it's great for you guys, terrible for him, excellent for the fans who like close racing.
Yep. No, we just got to keep plugging away, and it's going to be the whole season's going to be tight. There's, Stevie wants it bad, Todd wants it bad. I mean, everybody out there is capable of winning. There isn't a car that qualifies that isn't capable of winning. So it's definitely a tough class this year.
You mentioned Todd Tutterow. He's trying to follow the Mike Janis program of winning the Arabian Championship and then building all that momentum and then coming into the E3 Sparkplugs Championship and winning it also. And, he had great success over there and then started off back-to-back final rounds, sitting second in the points, only 1 point behind Stevie, a little bit ahead of you, 32 points ahead. But that's a little bit of a trend you may have started. And if he does go on to win the championship, then everyone's going to be over there now.
Yeah. I realized that after he won it over there. He says, well, we're going to do the same thing you did last year. I says, well, I'd like to see you do it, but I'd like to be there too. So it's, all in good. We're all good friends, and until we pull to the starting line, it's, we all have a great time together, and can't say enough about all of them. I mean, any of the guys out there that we're racing against, you have a good time in the pits, but on the starting line, we're racers. So it's a pretty cool deal.
And the way the racing has gotten so close, year after year, the evolution continues to happen, and everybody is getting quicker and faster and better and more consistent, right? 5 years ago compared to now, it's night and day. No offense to 5 years ago, but what's happening now is just pure competitive insanity. That run example you gave from the four wides where everyone's 582, you're 581.9. Every light is better than 040, which is a good light. That is just tough stuff. What do you think makes the difference, Mike, when you guys roll to the starting line, when you roll to the track, when you're working on your cars in between races here as we get ready for Virginia? What makes the difference between the person who turns on the wind light and the person who loads up?
I think the crew chief making the calls, track calls, consistency. Over the years, 9 times out of 10, when you'd have to race somebody, they were going to shake the tires. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. There's, 1 out of 10 now that they don't go down. So, every race has been a, good race, and, just consistency. The guys are figuring out how to make them go down the track all the time, better race cars, good crew chiefs, that's what it's all about. I think that's the biggest difference. Power-wise, we're making more power than we did 5 years ago. But, if we could make a car go down the track 5 years ago like we're doing now, we'd be way far ahead. But it's definitely the torque converter technology has helped a lot over the last 5 years.
Yes, that has been a big advantage. It's been interesting to see. Some of the purists, though, are a little bummed about, no clutch anymore in the cars like yours in particular. Where do you stand as a driver? Is it less fun for you?
No, not at all. No, it's being a driver and crew and working on it all the time, that part of it, not having to pull the clutch every run and service it, the consistency, knowing that you can go up there and the car is going to do the same thing it did the run before and not have to worry about a clutch disc getting hard on you. No, it's as far as the thrill, no, the actual G-force has more G's with the automatic than it did the clutch,
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, 60 foot's harder, way harder than the clutch ever did.
Well, that is cool. And you're the guy who gets to have that fun, so you would know the best.
Yep. No. But, other than that, it's, things are going smooth so far.
Earlier this year, Alan Reinhart did a social media piece on your injector and how you guys have got some cool new plumbing going on in there. And I found that to be cool. I know that fans and myself like to see visible or slightly visible innovation, at least to know that it's happening, just to know that it's happening, right? The day that everything ends up being exactly the same and things stagnate, that's when people get bored. I thought that was kind of a cool bit. How long have you been working on that and the principle behind it? Alan explained to the people on social media. Give us your best explanation for the WFO podcast people.
First off, Alan did a fantastic job explaining it. I mean, that was all him. We gave him a couple little pointers, and I mean, he did a great job for us on that. And we all started that. The big deal with the hats is I guess throughout the years, you've seen that we had different shapes, sizes, injector scoops, and so on. And being in the CNC business, we could never do the carbon one way we wanted it. So it started off, let's just make one out of billet, and it kind of went from there. And we've had the spray bar for actually quite a few years, tucked up underneath our carbon one where you couldn't see it. And, we just kind of incorporated that with the new hat, and we figured we might as well start marketing this stuff and, making it work. And like Alan says on his deal, I mean, it's a solid 100 horse with that spray bar and that injector hat, and then some. But we keep working. Right now, we're working on a little bit different shape hat. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better. But some people don't like the looks of this hat. We're trying to tailor it to, what they like and different ideas people throw by you. So, well, we're on it. I'll constantly thinking of something different.
I like it. I think it looks like a Hot Wheels car. Like, we grew up with these crazy, exaggerated cars that we play with as children. And, maybe they didn't end up looking like the real cars that we see out there racing, but yours does.
Yeah. No, the billet hat is definitely stronger. I mean, it idles nice. And the spray bar in it, acts as basically cools the intake charge like an intercooler, and atomizes the fuel going in. So it's definitely a big plus.
So, question about that, and just like to me, this is part of the whole fun of racing that nobody gets to know about, right? You say you've had it for a few years. Reinhart just noticed it this year, and we're finding out about it. Okay, secret's out. But is this something that you feel like was unique to you, or are there other teams that had it?
I can't answer that. We always knew by putting the fuel in up towards the top was better. And back in our nitrous days, we had some really good atomizing spray bar nozzles, and that's where it came from back in the 90s, the nozzles I used to use back then. And we did some flow testing on them, and kind of amazed the way they atomize. So we gave it a shot, and at first you think it isn't real for real, but I mean, every motor you tried it on, or every blower you tried on it picked it up big time. So
we'll see exactly.
Whether it was.
And that's what I think is really cool about it, is that, the day that you decided, like, hey, let's try this, run some alcohol through these old spray bars from the nitrous days, or however you ended up working it, like that moment, like that day, that had to be a really great day for an engine guy.
Oh, gosh, yeah. It's, like you say, you make a pull and you just, you make dyno pulls and you have a lot of letdown days too. And when you get a day like that on the dyno, it's hard to believe, and you back yourself up, try it with and without, and we had something there, and just got to try and make it better. That's all.
Well, exactly, but it's going pretty good. So Virginia, we haven't been there a lot, NHRA wise. At least we had a gap in going there on a regular basis, but we were out there a year ago, and now we're going back out there. And the hallmark of the track, pretty much, as smooth as any track out there. What about for you guys, and how do you prepare for this surface?
Well, Virginia, we look at the air. The air is relatively a good barometer there. We'll make a few motor changes, but the track surface, we've got that was where I won my first national event back in 2001 in Richmond there. And last year we had won again there. So track has been good to us. I guess we're just going to stick to our game plan and try and run consistent. And it's supposed to be really hot out, so it's going to be another, tuners track again. So like as it was in Atlanta, but it's about all the kind of sticking to our game plan, not making too many big changes.
No, there you go. It's working so far. You got sitting third in the point standings, ahead of Jose, behind Todd and Stevie, who are virtually tied. Going to be a whole lot of fun watching it get done. Well, congratulations, Mike, on winning the NGK 4 wides. We wanted to get you on, and now we are back up to speed with our pro modified winners. Good luck this weekend. And for a 12-race schedule, we are already pretty deeply into it now. You guys have been going for a while. It's been a fast and furious start to the season. Been a lot of fun to watch.
It's been a good year so far.
Mike, thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll see you out there this weekend.
All right, man. Thanks, Joe. Bye-bye.
Mike Janis with us here on WFO Radio. And yes, we work so hard to make sure everybody gets represented on this show. When I am deceased, one of the things that they will not be able to say is that Joe didn't try to get the winners on the show. That is hopefully not what they're talking about at my funeral. Hopefully. There's a lot of other stuff that people could be talking about and not that. But if it were to come up, hopefully someone in the gallery will be like, he did work really hard to get all the winners on the show as best as he could, right? Considering the circumstances. Why did this conversation turn so morbid? I don't know. Let's talk about Magic Dry US and brighten things up, okay? MagicDryUS.com. Yeah, Kelly Clontz is next, right? We're going into it. We're talking a little Magic Dry to lighten things up. Exactly. You can give them a call, 833-221-2257. 833-221-2257, because they've got these great spill kits. But the fact of the matter is that Magic Dry is a patented, processed, multi-purpose absorbent that's made from coconut husk. There you go. It absorbs 560% of its weight in liquid, more per pound than anything on the market. And it handles any viscosity of liquid. So that tells you exactly what you need to know. It's made in America. They support drag racing. That's it. Lock it down. The official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association. Go to the website, magicdryus.com, and think about this. Scott Palmer is on track because the folks at Magic Dry see great value in you, the fan of the National Hot Rod Association, racing fans, people who are doers and makers, not people who are just viewers and consumers. It is very different. You're going to use Magic Dry because you have got a shop or a factory or involved in some sort of industry, and you want to support this company that supports the sport you love, or you just want a better product, one or the other, or maybe you like WFO Radio. And if you've got a cat, well, you can get in on it too, because they use this similar product made out of coconut in catspotlitter.com. And I always say, if you got a cat, get Catspot. If you've got a shop, if you got a factory, if you're involved in industry, get magicdryus.com. Magic Dry's number, 833-221-2257. Of course, you want to tell them you heard it on WFO Radio, like first thing. Like, hey, before I tell you about my massive order, I want to tell you I heard about it on WFO Radio, and thank you for supporting the show and Scott Palmer and everybody involved in NHRA drag racing. For you cat owners, you can do the same thing, catspotlitter.com. And most importantly, I want you all to know that this company really supports drag racing. And they show that by supporting WFO Radio. And Scott Palmer, by the way, is looking pretty good. That car has turned a corner as of late, and I expect him to click off some round wins, and it might even start to happen here at Richmond this weekend. MagicDryUS.com. Coming up next, Kelly Clontz. We're going to get into it with Kelly. First time on WFO Radio, going to her home national event. That will be cool. Back after this.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one.
Honest. Listen.
Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman.
Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School.
The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Or visit frankhawley.com.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Extreme Velocity 3 Drag Racing. Download for your mobile device. Win your way on the show. WFO.
Hey everybody, Joe here, and I hereby decree on behalf of the WFO universe, the winter is over, which means it's time to grill. Get yourself some Rodax Coffee and Grills.com, barbecue spice rub, hot sauce, and of course, incredible coffee. They've got the WFO Radio Blend, they've got the Bang the Blower, they've got the Exotics. It's all roasted fresh per your order, representing the top 5% of coffee throughout the world. Go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or give Marvin a call. 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com.
This is Sean from Traverse City, Michigan. You ever get done with an episode of Ignition or Nitro and say, man, that's a good job? I'd like to give them a pat on the back and a cold beer. Well, with Patreon, you can. So send that drink down to Gio and Joe.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro, the podcast that you should be subscribed to every week. NHRA Nitro podcast. Subscribe, write us a review, 5 stars, whatever you like. If you like drag racing, I would think you would like the podcast. Even if you do not like me, right? Which I know there's a bunch of you out there that hate me. I get it. But you love the racers, and so you probably tolerate me. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for the toleration. I like that. That's good stuff. And I'm sure I've got fans, too. That's just the way it is. When there's somebody in your ear all the time, you may tend to not like them. I'm aware of it. I know. It's no big deal. All right, time to get into it with something that I do like a lot, which is Hankstafers.com. They've been around since 1937. Dr. Hankstafer established this company, and they are available and out there in all markets of the world. And their goal, whatever your needs, they have the best products to improve your metalworking processes. And what does that mean? They offer consistent, reliable performance at the best available price. That's for your cutting tools. That's for your machine shop. They aim to make you more efficient. So if you're cutting with various machines, you got a Bridgeport or whatever, Hankstafers.com. You need to check them out or give them a call, 800-433-LUBE. Now, just like everybody else that comes on WFO, they're huge supporters of NHRA drag racing. And I tell you about them so that you understand that they are supporting this sport. But Hankstafers is pretty unique in that they've got 100 affiliates throughout the world. It's a global network. They've got a team that's perfectly integrated with research, development, and manufacturing facilities to offer you the best service available. And that is what sets them apart. Hankstafers manufactures highly refined petroleum, synthetic, and vegetable-based products. So whatever your needs, they've got it. And when you see them on the side of DSR or John Force Racing, you know that they are a good product. So check them out. Hankstafers.com. Been around since 1937. Hankstafers Metalworking Lubricants, 800-433-LUBE. Give them a call. Check them out. Hankstafers.com. All right. Joining us now, we're headed to Virginia, and that is the home track of a pro stock motorcycle racer who has been fighting and clawing her way into the series and doing a pretty good job of it, too. Joining us now, Kelly Clontz on WFO Radio Podcast. Kelly, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Joe. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am great. How could I not be great? I'm absolutely great, getting ready to go racing this weekend. You've got to be super excited for this. This is your home track, as I understand it, certainly your home national event, and you get to perform in front of the region that you grew up in.
Oh, yes. We're super excited for this weekend. We have a lot of friends and family coming down. All of our sponsors are coming down, so it's going to be really exciting to be able to show them what we have and what we've been working on. So we can't wait.
So let's talk a little bit about, from the beginning to now. I feel like you've covered a lot of ground and are now getting to the point where you can compete. We made some races and you had some strong performances, but it seems like you have gotten over a hurdle a little bit. But I'd like to hear you characterize where you're at your point in your career?
Oh, I mean, really, you can't come into Pro Stock Motorcycle and think you're going to dominate the field. There's a lot of guys and gals out there that have been doing this for a long time. So we're just excited, to be able to have the opportunity to come out and run with these guys. And, we've learned a lot of things, and we're just getting used to having all the different track conditions, the different racetrack services, the different weather, altitude, temperatures. We never did that before because we were in sportsman. We just did like bracket racing where you dial in and then go down the track. So it really didn't matter how fast we went. So after having a year where we experienced each racetrack, I feel like we've been able to get a handle on what we need to go into each event now. So we're so excited. Now we're really excited to go into VMP. We feel like we should do pretty well at this race.
Now, I was having a conversation with Chris, your husband, and he got me up to speed on a couple of things, and that's part of my job to learn. But, he was telling me about his racing career, and that when you got on the bike, you immediately went out and you were able to win a track championship. We're talking about bracket racing. Our listeners know how challenging that is and how it requires, even though you're not trying to pick up the performance of the machine, whether it be a car or bike every run, you have to know it. You have to be able to think very rapidly. It definitely develops your brain as a racer. And the idea that you went out and won a track championship and were immediately successful, that says a whole lot.
Yeah, I actually didn't have really any kind of competition experience. I was really good in high school, so I did well in school. But at 21, Chris gave me an opportunity to ride a drag bike, and I jumped on it. And we slowly worked our way up to Pro Stock. But it's been a great road, and I love the challenge. And the championship was awesome. And to now be at this level, playing in a big field. Competition, it's just awesome to be here. I can't wait. Every weekend is like it's unreal. It's like a dream.
Well, let's dig down on that a little bit, Kelly, because there are people who have dreams, right? But they just keep them as dreams. They're not going to go out and invest. Even a lot of bracket racers or racers all around the country, they feel like, man, if I had the opportunity to go race Pro Stock, I could beat Greg Anderson. Or if I could be in Pro Stock Motorcycle, I would be able to get after it against Eddie Krawick. I just don't have the opportunity. And you guys did it. You went out and you I want to say, put your money where your mouth is and dove into this swimming pool, not necessarily not knowing what was on the other side. You knew it was going to be really hard and really challenging, and maybe not almost impossible, but a very challenging endeavor, and yet you did it anyway. Why?
Well, this is what him and I do. We race together, and, he says, like, growing up, he always wanted to race Pro Stock Motorcycle, but, at his size, he's unable to be competitive, So when I decided to take the jump and want to try the opportunity to do it, he was 100% on board. So I feel like him and I having each other to push each other and keep each other engaged and excited, and we're both so passionate about this, and when we put our mind to something, there's nothing that can take it away from us. Like, we're just determined. And there's a lot of people that kind of look at us like, wow, you guys are going to try that. And it's like, yeah, why not try it? Why not believe in yourself enough and know that we continue to work hard in everything we do, and eventually the rewards pay off. So we're excited for whatever the future holds in Pro Stock Motorcycle.
That is great. And some very high-profile people have helped you along the way, whether it be with, little, aspects of your riding. Talk a little bit about that, how, of course, this is a very competitive field, but it doesn't seem like, and I want your opinion, that people try to hold other people back.
I feel like everybody, each and every team has been super supportive with us. It started with the Stouffer Underdog team. We purchased the bike from the Stouffers. It was the old Geico bike, their rental bike. And Gary and both Karen, we just love them to death. They've been super helpful getting our feet wet with Pro Stock, and, Greg Underdahl. And then, we've gotten so many close relationships. Now we run Vance and Hines, and we have a great relationship with them. And Eddie's been super helpful with us. The whole team actually last year in Virginia came and helped us get a clutch set up because we were struggling. So we had Matt Hines, Andrew Hines, Eddie Krawick, and Mike Mulaney in the trailer trying to help us out, and that was a big part of our program. We've also grown really close to Matt and Angie Smith. They haul our bike on the West Coast races. So Matt and both Angie have been giving me a lot of riding style tips because you have to adapt to a pro stock motorcycle. It's not anything like you've ever ridden. And people think that they can just come out and it's super easy because we make it look super easy, but it's one of the most difficult things I've ever done. So, everybody is just awesome. Like every team, everybody's pretty supportive of each other. But then, when you get on the racetrack, game face.
Right. Well, exactly. You got to have the game face on because you're trying to take them down. But I love hearing that about the pro stock motorcycle class. They are the class that probably has the most public beefs with each other, which is entertaining. But at the same time, there's a lot of help going on behind the scenes. Talk a little bit about riding the bike a little more in depth, though, in that I know there are quicker and faster bikes. In fact, Andrew was on 2 weeks ago. And that's in the archive, folks, if you want to go back and listen. And he's talking about some of the other drag racing series that feature motorcycles. And some, have nitrous oxide, and power adders, and no bar, and all of that. But this style of riding is extremely challenging. What is the quickest bike you've been on? Is this it? And why is it so challenging?
This is the quickest bike I've ever been on. I actually came from a no-bar Hayabusa that was about 72 inches that had a small tire on it and a slider clutch. So I'm 100% total opposite on everything with this bike. I have a big tire, a clutch that I have to actually let go, wide open throttle. Where before I used to leave on a roll, so I would the light would light and I would just hit the throttle where a slider, just engages the centrifugal clutch. Then you have the big tire with the wheelie bars, which I had rode a wheelie bar bike for years, but it wasn't a big tire and it wasn't one that launched as hard as a pro stock motorcycle launches. And then you basically have to finesse a pro stock. All the body movement needs to go away. You need to fine tune and perfect every run because any little mistake you make, scratches off ET. So where in bracket racing or, any kind of racing other than pro stock, you can kind of compensate with the nitrous to run faster, where pro stock, the power you have and how you apply it, you have to make the best run you possibly can. Those shifts are critical, where before I never even shifted a bike by hand. I always used auto shift. So that 1-2 shift comes in about 1.1 between 1.2 seconds, and then you have 4 shifts after that. So the whole concept of it, I've just, been working towards getting used to, and every race weekend is a new day, a new experience. So it definitely keeps you on your toes.
Wow, that is cool to hear you say it. And I often hear descriptions like that and feel that the bikes don't get enough credit for what's going on.
I don't think they do. I hear from a lot of people that are close with us or have met us now in the pro stock circuit who before were like, wow, I didn't realize it was so much to a pro stock motorcycle. These guys for years have made it look so easy that it kind of it's like, oh, pro stocks are, let me just, I actually heard a guy the other night, we were chatting, and he's like, now when we watch it on TV, we're waiting for pro stock motorcycle, but before we would just go get a drink. And it's like, no, you have to, you have to get excited because these things are awesome. And I personally think that it's probably the hardest class because your body movement is so critical, where in a car, you can learn a routine and improve it because you're sitting in a car, where on a bike, every single body movement is critical in where your motorcycle will go on the track, whether it's left or right or, keep it in the groove. I mean, we're doing so many things that people don't understand.
Well, exactly, and I appreciate you laying it out there, and that's what we want to get into. Most people, it comes down to the same problem that drag racing and auto racing happens, except amplified with motorcycles, is that every little baby gets a ball thrown into their crib, right? Baseball, basketball, football. So auto racing is already challenged because you don't even get to really play with these things until you're near getting a license if your parents aren't already drag racers. And then maybe they'll give you a junior dragster, but if they're not already drag racers, well, motorcycles are even an increased layer to that, right? Like I can tell you, I have not ridden motorcycles just on the street. My the perception of danger, not of the bike, but of the other people around me, kept me off of them. And so it's hard for regular car people to totally get it. But once you start talking about all the weight transfer and controlling the bike with your body weight and dealing with all of these things, it is very, very interesting.
The funny thing about that is I came from a racer family, and growing up, I was one of 4 girls, and my dad would not let me have a motorcycle. So when I met my husband, he raced motorcycles. So it was like super exciting to be around motorcycles. Now, I never had any kind of background with them. I think it's kind of like you get the needle in your vein, like with drag racing. Well, it's the same kind of passion with a motorcycle. You either love it or you don't love it. There's no kind of like in between. I think a lot of people are intimidated by them because of the unknown if you've never done it or you don't have somebody to teach you. And he taught me, and just to see how we progressed over the years. And we rode on the street for a while, but with us living in like the Washington, D.C. metro area, it's not really, we don't feel comfortable riding around because you're not actually relaxed and just cruising. It's so high traffic, and so we just strictly stick on the racetrack.
No, I was just in the D.C. area this past weekend, and I did not see a lot of motorcycles, and I totally understand. The traffic is just too vicious.
It's very congested. People, and now people don't really pay much attention to what they're doing. They're more interested in their phones. So that's a whole nother story right there. I'll just keep it on the racetrack going, trying to go 200 mile an hour.
There you go. Now, you have some other hobbies that you're interested in, though, which is kind of cool. Just, your NHRA bio says weightlifting and kickboxing. I'm a little more interested in the kickboxing. I think Matt Hagan has got the weightlifting thing locked down for the NHRA, but that's interesting. So you are a competitor on many levels.
Yeah, I just do it basically for fitness. Riding these bikes are so difficult. People don't realize what kind of strength you have to have. They leave at 3 Gs. So, you pretty much, the more like core strength and everything you can build, the easier they are for you to maneuver and actually finesse your riding style. I know a lot of us females that race do work out pretty hard to try to, keep the bike in control, which is, I love kickboxing. It's so much fun. I actually go to an I Love Kickboxing gym, so it's pretty cool, but it's all just for, putting in the work to be better on the motorcycle.
That is awesome. And your sponsor, they came on board, Steam Fitter Local 602. That is a very northeastern metro area kind of thing, which I love the fact that they're behind you. How did you get together with these guys?
Yeah, so my husband joined the local back in 1995, and we actually just threw out a Facebook post on their Facebook site saying, hey, we're looking for marketing partners, and one of the officers messaged us and was like, hey, why don't you come in? We'd like to talk to you. So they joined us last year and supported us and helped us out on our first full season. And then this year when I went in December to thank them, and I took them some, like a big poster and, some jerseys and stuff to just, thank them for their help and support. And they decided that they wanted to jump on as the primary. So Chris has been in the Steam Fitter Local for 24 years now. So they've been super excited. Super excited, and just they will all actually be there this weekend. We're going to have so many people there supporting us. So, I just want to make them proud and just appreciate everything they've done for us, because we wouldn't be out here for this full season if it wasn't for their support.
Well, that is tremendous, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. Kelly, good luck this weekend, the Virginia Nationals. Not only that, but in your career in general, it has been fun to watch you get from the beginning to here, and it is going to be more fun watching you go from here to wherever you go. You guys are obviously, you're getting it, and you continue to get better and better every time out, so I'm looking forward to seeing you go rounds and have some success.
Thank you so much, Joe. I look forward to seeing a lot more of you as well.
Thanks for coming on WFO Podcast. I appreciate it. I'll see you this weekend.
Thank you. Have a good one. See you this weekend.
Thanks, Kelly. Kelly Clontz with us here on WFO Radio. Spoke with Kelly on my Mellow Yellow walking tour in Atlanta. She did such a great job, just such a pro. And dealing with the media, telling her story. Fans who were there for the first time absolutely fell in love with her. And this week, heading to her home event, why not have her on WFO Radio? And I think she's going to have the potential to have a big fan base. She and Chris, her husband, right, just out there banging their heads against the wall to be a part of the Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series and Pro Stock Motorcycle. You got to love that. I certainly do. Thanks to Kelly for coming on WFO. Now I want to tell you about audible.com/WFO Nitro. And it's about starting your 30-day free trial. Simple as that. Start your 30-day free trial. And you're probably wondering, when's my time, Joe? And my time is next. My time coming up, right? Because I want to tell you about 8th and I and all the cool stuff that happened to me this weekend. Just amazing. But audible.com/WFO Nitro. Start your 30-day free trial. All kinds of great benefits to the listener. You folks are listeners. You listen. You're entertained by listening. And some people tell me, Joe, the podcast is too long. It's so long, right? And yes, it's entertainment for people who need entertaining in their jobs. They're an over-the-road trucker. They're going to be driving 9 hours today or 11 hours today and then 11 hours tomorrow or however long it is, right? They want something that's going to gobble up time. They're listening to all these podcasts. Which winner am I cutting out? Whose interview am I cutting short to make it an easily consumable 1 hour? I'm not doing that on WFO. I'm just not. And I maybe right now I'm not. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll start cutting people short. But the bottom line is, if you're a listener, audible.com/WFO Nitro is the way to get started with your 30-day free trial and continue to listen, because that's the way you get your entertainment, because you're doing something else. Now, you are a screen watcher and you love to watch the screen. There's shows for you too out there. First of all, you can get our show on YouTube, which is also available. That is kind of cool. But also, it's just a different kind of thing. You want the very modern and millennial, easily digestible 2-minute video clip that is going to tell you everything you need to know about the people and performers that make NHRA drag racing? Yeah, that's not what this is. Sorry. Am I fighting against the modern culture? Yeah, a little bit. I'm fighting against it, okay? Because I don't think that's always good for people to have the most basic understanding of things. There's a lot of people that don't understand a lot of stuff, and if they would listen to a little bit longer interview or podcast, they might know it a little bit better. Maybe if those people who didn't know Greg Anderson was going to be at the race had listened to WFO Radio for 2 hours, they would know exactly what's going on in Pro Stock instead of being blindsided at the racetrack. Well, I bought my tickets and I didn't get to see Pro Stock. Well, it was everywhere that Pro Stock season was shortened. And that brings me to my time, the tail end of the show, where I give you my thoughts about whatever I want, because it's my time. And it's brought to you by Patreon, patreon.com/WFO Radio, where hopefully really passionate listeners of the show will jump on board and support the program directly in exchange for some additional content, but really not that much, right? Hopefully you appreciate the just raw honesty, the raw, unfiltered honesty of WFO. He's telling me I have to pay, but I won't get anything. That's right. You might get something. And I'm laughing because I think I'd do as good a job as possible to give some behind-the-scenes acknowledgement to the Patreons. But really, it's your way of just supporting this show that hopefully you love. And if you don't love it, I get it. Whatever. I'm doing my best. We're having a good time doing it. So here's what happened. First of all, I want everybody to know that I am very excited about the return of Pro Stock, just to see what it feels like. I know that not everybody loves Pro Stock the way I do. I know there are a lot of people that said, wow, those Mountain Motor Pro Stocks were amazing. And they were. And I love them. And I met these new people, and they're great. And I don't believe in the zero-sum game, which means somebody has to lose for somebody to win. That is not necessarily the case. There are lots of fans out there advocating for the elimination of 500 cubic inch Pro Stock to be replaced by Pro Mod or Mountain Motor Pro Stock. These people exist. I think it's a ridiculous thing to say. For why? What's the purpose of that? Why can't we have both? Why can't we have all? But more importantly, Pro Stock is a different kind of thing altogether. Just about every other category that we talk about here on WFO, Top Fuel, Funny Car, Alcohol, Factory Stock, Pro Mod are all classes where, Mountain Motor Pro Stock, where way too much power is already made. And the class and the skill comes from managing it in various different track conditions, weather conditions, and settings, competitive situations, managing the power. Like, can you use more of your power than the other guy can use of his power? And that is not what Pro Stock is. Pro Stock is you don't have enough power. Nobody has enough power. Nobody has enough power, and they're constantly searching for more power, and they can't find it, and they don't know what to do to find it. And so what they have done is gone nose to tail on this machine and made every single aspect of it as perfect as is possible. Very similar to what Kelly Clontz was just talking about in Pro Stock Motorcycle, the motorcycle equivalent, thus the name Pro Stock Motorcycle. You get that. It's good. I'm a little sarcastic here today, but that's all right. I had a great weekend. I was thrilled. So for Pro Stock to return, where you know that every single aspect of the car is evolved to 100% possible, and then the driver must release the clutch on time, shift the gears to perfection to win the race, to me is fantastic because it's unique. It's not like the others. It's totally different. Now, does the average person have what it takes to understand that? Have the people whose job it is to explain that done as good a job as they could do? Have the competitors done enough to inform the fan base about why it's cool? These are all areas that are in question. And I think many of those things may get answered this weekend, right? We're going to see what the fans do. I was watching, and I always watch, the amount of people that leave the grandstands after Nitro. Was it fewer? Did fewer people leave the grandstands when Pro Mod was right after the Nitro cars? No. Same amount left. Maybe more. So the argument that all these injected turbocharged Pro Mods come to the starting line and that the fans who have just seen Nitro are going to say, wow, let's stay, they're amazing, I don't think it bared out. Now, I stay. I'm just making an argument here that whatever is next, right? Whatever is next, those fans who were sitting up there for, let's call it, an hour and 40 minutes, they're going. They're going down to the pits. And then some will stay. And the same number, if not more, stay for Pro Stock as any other class. Now, this weekend, we'll keep track of it again. Is there a metric for that? No, I don't know what it is. I don't know. But that's my thesis. And I think we can support it with video evidence. Does anyone have the video evidence? No. Well, there you go. But I'm excited to have Pro Stock back. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But I am. All right, now on to my weekend. Here's the deal. Many people who listen to the show know that, my dad was in the United States Marine Corps drill instructor. And all my life, I was, raised as much in the Marine Corps way as is possible without anything really negative. Okay, you've seen movies like The Great Santini and all. Robert Duvall was a very angry guy, and it was not cool. That's not what was up. But as a drill instructor, my dad always tried to explain to me what it was like. Because this was, for my father, like the best thing he ever did in his entire life, right? Being a Marine to this day is just such an element of pride for my father. And we're the kind of family, we're like a 3-member family, right? My mother, my father, and myself. had extended family up in New Jersey, but we moved away from the cold weather, and they did not want to move away from the cold weather, and so here we are, and I feel really good about it. But now, like, we're the small nuclear family. No brothers, no sisters, no nothing. I've got people that are, my family members that I chose. They're my great friends over life. But my dad being a Marine was as significant anything in my life as anything else, because I learned everything that he learned, just in a different way. All of the elements that make a Marine, I was taught them, but just under a different circumstance. A lot slower, with a lot less harsh penalties for failures. Okay? But all my life, my dad has been telling me about something in Washington, D.C. called the Sunset Parade. And that at the Marine Corps Barracks, D.C., at 8th and I, which is our nation's oldest active military barracks, they have this, weekly parade that happens sometimes between X and X dates, yada, yada. My whole life, I've been hearing about this. And so, this past year, I said to my father, who's getting older, I was like, Dad, is there anything, and there's many layers to this story that you don't need to know about. Is there any, I brought home a lot of pets as a kid and burdened my parents with pet care. Like, oh, look at this cat. Isn't he cute? Okay, bye. And that's the kind of kid I was, whatever. But now they don't have any pets anymore. Pets timed out. They are free of burden. Is there any way, anywhere you want to go? Dad, anything you want to do? Before, let's face it, before he gets too old to do this stuff. And so we carved out, we're going to go to Washington, D.C., we're going to go to the National Museum of the Marine Corps in Quantico, and we're going to go to the Sunset Parade at 8th and I. It starts like May 1st, and it ends, the end of July or August or something. It's a summer thing. We're going to do that. So we did that this past week. Wednesday, Thursday, flew up Wednesday. Thursday, down to Quantico. Amazing. So here's where I'm pitching for no compensation. A couple of cool things. If you consider yourself a patriot, right? Like you're maybe an Army veteran or a Navy veteran or whatever. You're interested in other services. Or not at all. Maybe you're a skeptic. Maybe you're not a patriot. Maybe you don't care about those people who served. That maybe you think they're chumps. Whatever your thought, I would go to the Marine Museum in Quantico, because they explain from very start to current day every aspect of what this is, why it came about, when it came about, where it came about, what happened here, what happened there, in a beautiful presentation that is worthy of, Smithsonian or Disney or however you would want to call it. Very high-level stuff. Very interactive things. And they take you through all these major campaigns, the Civil War, War of 1812, where, for instance, the British, I don't think a lot of people know, but they kicked our butts. That's not one that everybody loves to talk about, War of 1812, where we kind of got our butt handed to us. And the British burned down Washington, D.C., except for the Marine barracks at 8th and I, where out of respect to the commandant and the Marines, they allowed the barracks to remain standing, which I think is pretty interesting, pretty cool. But right through, of course, I have great interest, that World War I, Belleau Wood, they interact the battle, they interact all these things. They've got all kinds of, you see the battle transform, you're walking through the forest. It's amazing. But then World War II, just insane, the presentation for the way it all lays out. And you understand, history is not well taught in our country. I don't know if, you all agree, but I think that it's poorly taught. That kids maybe don't have the time, or teachers don't have the time, or there's just not enough time to teach them the basics of math and reading and also teach them American history. But I think that most people don't understand most things when it comes to history. It's my assessment. So when we're talking about the Chosin Reservoir, Korea, and what's going on there, they've got, and how cold it was. It's like 20 below, and they don't have they did not have Gore-Tex, people. They did not have those Crackham heat warmers that went, they were just cold and underprepared. And they're in Korea. And also it will inform you of many things that are happening right now. For instance, like North Korea and South Korea, like what happened there? Did we invest? Did we spill blood? Yes, we did. All this stuff that's happening now. Why is it happening? Is it related? And the answer is yes. And all that stuff is very, very well handled and handled beautifully. But then you go into the Chosin Reservoir section, and it's freezing in there. It's cold. And they've got an interactive setup like a skit that happens. And you get to hear like communication, and they're calling fire unto themselves, and you're there, which is cool. And then, of course, Vietnam. And you run out of the back of a helicopter, and you're onto a hilltop in Vietnam. And there's fire going on all around you. It was very interesting. It was just amazing. And even the cafe in there is Ton Tavern. They've got Corsairs in there. They've got Harrier jets in there. They've got just amazing stuff. I cannot give it any higher recommendation as far as a museum goes. We spent 6.5 hours in there, and we blew through it. Oh, by the way, it's free. It's free. You just go in, and it's free. Now, if you want to participate in the laser shooting gallery, you got to pay a couple bucks to play that. There's a 38-minute movie, We Are Marines. That's $5, but it's free. So amazing. Then went back to the hotel in D.C. I went out on my own private excursion to see the World War II Memorial, which I had yet to see. I ran along, various pathways in the dark to go to the Washington Monument, to go to the World War II Memorial. It was just amazing. I can't stress how great it was. Then Friday morning, to the Capitol, where, I have a friend that's in D.C., was able to arrange a private Capitol tour, and it's something I try to do as often as I can. This is the third time that I've done it, but I never got to see the House of Representatives in session and vote. Think about that. We all talk about we're saluting soldier heroes, and we're talking about America, and we're raising the flag, and we're saluting the flag, and all of that. And what is that? What is it? It's our representative democracy in action, and there they all are, right on the floor, and they're all, commiserating and back and forth, and it looked like a crowded cafeteria of, high school students. It's loud, but it was very interesting to watch. They had C-SPAN on the screen, and you could see, and they're voting on various, the amendment to approve the amendment. But that's the way it works. A lot of people don't understand that, civics and government. They don't understand how it works. It's like they don't get it. But watching it work, spending 30 minutes up there just watching the back and forth and this one and that one and the voting and the ongoing chaos that was democracy. It was amazing. It was amazing. Loved it. Left the Capitol, wandered around, got to see lots of great things. Then went back, rested up, head to the Marine Barracks, D.C., 8th and I. First of all, they wanted me to tell you to go. I think that it's the kind of thing that they do not have a marketing budget to let you know that this is a thing that you can do. And I think that it's a very insider thing. Everybody there was, Marine veteran and family. But this is the kind of thing that it's a show. It's been going on since 1951 or something, as it is now. One of the coolest things I've ever seen ever, if you're into this kind of stuff. The President's Own, which is the name of the Marine band that serves the president directly. Whenever you see music, the president is out there anywhere, and there's music being supplied, it's by the President's Own Marine band. And then the rest of the Marine band. So they come out in this field, play a bunch of John Philip Sousa stuff. Just incredible. Great sound system. Padded bleachers. No chairbacks, but padded, which was cool. And doing the whole thing. Some drilling, some marching band. Then the Marine Silent Drill Platoon comes out. You've seen these guys in various commercials for the United States Marine Corps. It was incredible. But then it starts to rain. And how are these guys going to drill in the rain, right? It's pouring rain, lightning, and it's coming down on us. And if you've seen Caddyshack, when Bill Murray says, I don't think the heavy stuff is going to come down for quite a while, that reference may be lost on some people, or you may totally get it. That's what it was like. It was insane. The good Lord wouldn't interrupt the greatest game of my life. That's kind of what it was like. Not quite as ominous in terms of the lightning. And they drilled anyway. They went right through it. So my dad, 76 years old, he's got his jacket over his head. I'm like, do you want to go? He goes, I'm staying out as long as the Marines stay out. And we stayed to the very end. And then it cleared up a little bit. And it was just amazing. And they said, tag them on Facebook, post them on social media. They want people to know that this is a thing. And they had a packed house, and you have to request the tickets. But I got to tell you, if you are the type of person that considers yourself in any way a patriot, like you love the country, like you understand service, that you are connected to this and you appreciate this, you got to do this. You got to do it. It was amazing. Put it on the bucket list or the list of cool things you're going to do. I had a great time. That's it. That's a few-minute version of it. And I wanted to share that with you guys during my time because maybe some of you will enjoy it. Again, this is our nation's capital. You don't need an excuse to go there. It's an amazing place. Stayed 3 days or so and saw next to nothing. Just so many wonderful things could have taken in. And if you are an American citizen, how about this one, who has never been to Washington, D.C.? I know there are a lot of people, they don't go, man. They don't go. You need to go to understand. I really don't think you can truly understand unless you go to the Capitol and see, for good and for bad, all of it. Stand in front of the Washington Monument. Stand in front of the Capitol. Look at the Lincoln Memorial. Understand, what is all this stuff? I think it is extremely valuable experience. That is my opinion. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Factory Stock Podcast will be available probably by the time you get this. Ned Walliser, Vice President of Competition for the National Hot Rod Association, will be on. Going to answer a lot of questions about rules changes, along with Kevin Skinner, who drives a Cobra Jet Mustang, and Scott Libisher, who drives a Copo Camaro. They are back in action this week. We're going to talk about the rules changes, talk about all that stuff as they try to find parity. Brian Massengill will also be on the show. Brian from samtech.edu. Very much looking forward to Factory Stock and everything that will go down this week. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thank you for listening to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. Hopefully you are subscribed to this podcast and you enjoy it, like it, and log on every week. The Ignition Show this week, don't know what's going to happen with that. May or may not happen. If one happens, we'll let you know. That's going to do it. WFO.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.